Michael Jordan. Before the broken foot, Jordan was on track to take over the league. In his rookie season, he played every single game and was already showing off superstar talent. But early in his second year, he went down with a fractured navicular bone in his left foot, which is one of those injuries that makes doctors frown a lot. This was the same foot injury that ends a lot of careers. Jordan missed 64 games, and the Bulls were forced to scrape by without him. The team's management wanted him to sit out the rest of the season, but Jordan wasn't having it. They compromised, but not happily. He came back with heavy minute restrictions that drove him nuts. Even so, he made it count. In his first few games back, he was dropping over 20 a night, and then delivered that playoff performance everyone still talks about. 63 points, right after a long injury layoff. That wasn't just a comeback. It was a warning, and it didn't stop there. Later in his career, his body started showing the miles. In Washington, he dealt with knee problems, even had surgery. But even at 38, he still gave them over 24 points a game when starting. That comeback wasn't flashy, but it proved the guy never mailed it in. Dwight Howard. After dominating in Orlando, his career started slipping fast. He bounced around Houston, Atlanta, Charlotte, and Washington, never sticking, never fully healthy. The knees and back gave him trouble, and he never developed the offensive polish to age gracefully. By 2019, he was coming off a 9-game season with Washington before being dumped and waived by Memphis. The guy had been on 5 teams in 2 years, and his name was sliding off depth charts. That summer, the Lakers took a flyer on him, non-guaranteed, veteran minimum. They added a clause that let them cut him if he disrupted the team. And get this, he and his agent requested that clause to show he'd do whatever it took. That version of Howard was different. He didn't care about touches, he just played his role. Defense, rebound, screens, hustle, and it worked. Mid-season, the Lakers guaranteed his contract. By the playoffs, he was starting games, battling Nikola Jokic, and giving them tough minutes in the paint. He wasn't the star anymore, but he was vital. When the Lakers won that title, it was Howard's first ring. He didn't return to All-Star form. He came back from the edge and became a trusted piece on a championship roster. Jamal Crawford. Early in his career, Crawford was still raw, athletic, shifty, but not quite polished. Then came a brutal setback. Just before his second NBA season, he tore his ACL during a workout. That injury wiped out 59 games. And at that time, an ACL wasn't treated like a routine recovery. It was a real threat. He had surgery, went through painful rehab, and had to relearn the basics. Walking, shooting, trusting his leg. He sat in a chair, practicing form shots, watching others pass him by. But he didn't fold. He came back in March 2002 and started putting it together. In limited minutes, he hit double figures his first game back. And he didn't just return, he leveled up. After that, Crawford built a 20-year career. He won 6th Man of the Year 3 times, dropped over 50 points at age 39, and became a legend off the bench. His ball handling and scoring touch made him a nightmare to guard. Later injuries like calf strains tested him again, but he learned patience, even admitting he came back too soon once and paid for it. Still, he managed to stay productive into his late 30s, crafting one of the longest, flashiest second acts the league's ever seen. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Magic Johnson. In 1991, Magic stunned the world by announcing he had tested positive for HIV and was retiring. He was still at the top of his game, but the diagnosis and the fear around it changed everything. Back then, HIV was misunderstood, and his departure sent shockwaves through the league. Even so, Magic didn't disappear. In 1992, he played in the All-Star game, dropped 25 points, and won MVP. But that was symbolic. Players like Karl Malone expressed concern about playing with him, and he stepped away again. Years passed. Then in 1996, Magic made his full comeback. He returned mid-season, heavier, older, and slotted into a point-forward role. In 32 games, he averaged nearly 15 points, almost 7 assists, and around 6 rebounds a night. Not bad for someone who hadn't played in over 4 years. In the playoffs, he put up over 15 a game against Houston, but the Lakers were bounced in the first round. After that, he retired for good, this time on his own terms. His comeback wasn't about chasing glory, it was about showing he could still compete, breaking stigma, and finishing the game with dignity. He didn't need a title to prove his legacy. Derrick Rose. Before the injuries, Rose was flying. He was the #1 pick, Rookie of the Year, and by 2011, the youngest MVP in league history. The guy was lightning fast, explosive, and the heart of a loaded Bulls squad. That all changed in the playoffs against Philly when he tore his ACL late in Game 1. Just like that, everything stopped. The surgery came in May, and rehab dragged through the next year. He missed the entire 2012 to 2013 season. Then, Right after returning, he tore the meniscus in his other knee. Another year gone. Those injuries didn't just slow him down. They rewired his entire game. His numbers dropped. His burst wasn't the same, but he didn't quit. He adjusted. Over time, he built a second act, less about speed, more about craft. He had big games in New York and Minnesota, became a go-to scorer, off the bench, and lasted 16 years in the league. No, he never got back to MVP form, but he found a way to keep going. Rose's legacy isn't just about what was lost. It's about everything he fought through. Surgeries, setbacks, doubts, and how he kept showing up. That's a different kind of greatness. Alonzo Mourning. In his prime, he was one of the best defensive forces in the league. Two-time Defensive Player of the Year, multiple-time All-Star, and a rim protector who anchored Miami's front line. But in 2000, everything changed. Mourning was diagnosed with a serious kidney disease. It forced him to sit out most of the next few seasons, and by 2003, he had to retire. Just months later, he underwent a kidney transplant, the kind of life-saving procedure that usually ends any athletic career. But Mourning didn't walk away. After recovering, he returned briefly with New Jersey. But it wasn't until 2005 that the real comeback started, back in Miami. He wasn't the same physically, but he adapted. He came off the bench behind Shaquille O'Neal, gave them defense, blocks, and grit in limited minutes. And in 2006, it paid off. In the finals against Dallas, Mourning made a huge impact. 5 blocks in the closeout Game 6 alone. That ring was the exclamation point on his comeback. He didn't return to superstar form, but he returned with purpose. Mourning didn't just survive a transplant. He came back, found his role, and became a champion. That comeback was nothing short of historic. Shaun Livingston. At just 21, he was a tall point guard with serious upside. Drafted 4th overall, he had size, vision, and promise. But in 2007, his entire career nearly ended on one play. Going up for a routine layup, he landed awkwardly, and his left knee basically exploded. He tore the ACL, PCL, MCL, dislocated the kneecap, dislocated the knee joint, and shredded the meniscus. Doctors literally discussed amputation. He needed surgery to rebuild nearly everything. The operation used a patellar tendon graft, and the recovery took over a year. Swelling, stiffness, pain. He had to relearn how to walk, balance, and trust his leg again. Even when cleared, teams weren't lining up. He bounced from Miami to Tulsa to Oklahoma City to Washington and beyond. Limited minutes, low expectations, nothing guaranteed. Then Golden State signed him, and that's where the comeback finally settled in. Livingston became a key rotation guy, steady off the bench, with a deadly mid-range game and dependable defense. He won 3 championships, played in 5 straight finals, and retired in 2019 after 15 seasons. He didn't just come back, he built a second career. It wasn't flashy. It was pure grit, pure professionalism, and a quiet triumph over a nightmare injury. Kevin Durant. In the 2019 finals, he ruptured his right Achilles, one of the worst injuries in basketball. It happened less than 2 minutes into the second quarter, after dropping 11 points in the first. He had already missed games with a calf issue, but this was different. An Achilles tear can mean the end. Most players never return to full form, especially in their 30s. Durant sat out the entire next season. No shortcuts, no late season attempt. He let the leg heal. He returned in December 2020 with Brooklyn and dropped 22 points in his debut. Just like that, he looked like himself again. Calm, deadly, efficient. Post-injury, the shift was subtle. He played smarter. Less burst maybe, but still lethal. Mid-range pull-ups, off-the-dribble threes, and high-level playmaking stayed intact. Over his first 130-plus games back, his shooting splits and scoring averages did not just match. They sometimes exceeded his old numbers. That is unheard of after an Achilles tear. He had to deal with load management, ankle tweaks, and public doubt, but he kept producing. He did not rush, he adapted, and most of all, he proved how you can recover from an Achilles and still dominate. Durant's comeback is not just rare, it is historic. A blueprint for what resilience looks like in the modern NBA. Baylor. By the mid-1960s, he was a walking bucket, elite scorer, top-tier rebounder, and one of the most athletic forwards the league had ever seen. Then came the 1965 playoffs. In the opening game, he went down with a serious knee injury, a chipped bone, followed by surgery that removed part of his kneecap and a tendon. That moment became a dividing line in his career. He came back the next season, but it was different. His average dropped to 16 points per game, and his explosiveness was never the same. Calcium built up in his leg muscles. His knees stiffened. He lost the lift that defined his game. He played through it, even regaining stretches of production. Over 26 points per game in seasons after. but he had to grind for everything. The athleticism was fading. The pain wasn't. In 1971, he tried again, briefly, but chronic pain shut it down after 9 games. The Lakers won the championship that year, the one he never got as a player. Still, they gave him a ring. He never made a full comeback, but even wounded, Baylor found ways to stay dangerous. His decline wasn't a fall, it was a fight. Zach LaVine. He was still carving out his place in the league when a torn ACL in 2017 hit the brakes hard. Before that, he was climbing. Dynamic drives, flashy dunks, and sky-high potential. Then came the long road back. He missed nearly an entire season rehabbing that knee. And when he finally returned in January 2018 with Chicago, the minutes were limited, the explosiveness questioned, and every drive came with concern. But LaVine didn't stay cautious. By 2019, he was dropping over 23 points per game, and he wasn't slowing down. In 2020, he jumped to 25 and kept climbing. The peak came in 2021, almost 28 points a night, elite shooting splits, and a legit top-tier scoring threat. He'd completely reshaped his game, less about poster dunks, more about finesse, timing, and space. Then came the next round of problems. Knee soreness, surgeries, even a foot operation in 2024 that ended his season. He missed 17 straight games before returning in January. But again, he bounced back. He closed strong, put up solid numbers with Sacramento in 2025, and reminded everyone that his game had layers. Through it all, LaVine evolved, more complete, more efficient, and still dangerous. Julius Randle. His entire career has been about fighting through physical setbacks and still showing up, ready to produce. It started rough. In his very first NBA game, just 14 minutes in, he broke his leg and missed the entire rookie season. That kind of hit early on could have crushed momentum, but he bounced back, came into the next year with energy, and kept growing. It never really let up though. Randle's dealt with a carousel of injuries, ankles, feet, and then that right shoulder dislocation in January 2024. That one ended his season just as he was putting up around 24 points, almost 10 boards, and 5 assists a game. Still, after surgery, he worked his way back and returned the next year, only to strain his groin and miss more time. He came back in March 2025, scored 20 in 34 minutes, and just kept rolling. Through it all, he's had to adjust his game, trust his body again, and stay mentally locked in. With the Timberwolves now, he's not just surviving, he's helping lead playoff pushes. That new 3-year deal worth $100 million shows teams still trust him to deliver, even after the bruises and surgeries. Paul George, that leg injury in 2014 was brutal. Compound fracture, bone through skin, the whole thing. It happened during a Team USA scrimmage, and just like that, everything paused. He was supposed to miss the entire season, and yeah, most people thought he might never play the same again. They did surgery right away, inserted a rod, and then came months of rehab. When he finally returned in April 2015, he played 6 games, mostly symbolic minutes. But the next season, he came all the way back. In 2015-16, he averaged over 23 points and looked like the all-star he was before. That's when it became clear. This wasn't just a feel-good moment. He was still a high-level two-way wing, but over time, the wear added up. Recurring injuries like foot soreness, elbow sprains, and that left knee surgery in July 2025 reminded everyone how fragile things still were. In his first season with Philadelphia, he played only 41 games and averaged around 16 points. He's adjusted his game, relying more on skill and spacing than raw explosion. Still, the fact that he's remained relevant after that kind of injury and after everything since makes his comeback one of the most impressive in modern basketball. Klay Thompson. By 2019, he was at the top. Deadly shooter, elite, on-ball defender, and 3-time champ. Then came Game 6 of the finals. He landed wrong after a foul, and just like that, his left knee was toast. Torn ACL, surgery followed. Everyone figured he'd miss one season, then bounce back. But the real shock came during rehab. He tore his right Achilles in November 2020. 2 devastating leg injuries, 2 years gone. He didn't return until January 2022. That's 941 days off the floor. And even though he scored 17 in his first game back, nothing about it was normal. He had to relearn movement, timing, rhythm, everything. But he pushed through. By the time the Warriors won another title that year, he was a key contributor again. Not the same exact player, but still dangerous. He even dropped 54 points in a game later. His role changed. Less defensive grinding, fewer minutes, more spacing, and shot bursts. Eventually, Golden State moved on. In 2024, he joined Dallas, but his legacy's solid. He missed over 2 full years and still came back to win another ring. That's not just a comeback. It's a full-blown transformation and reminder of what persistence really looks like. Carmelo Anthony. For over a year, he was out of the league. No contract, no team, and no real interest from front offices. After being waived by Houston just 10 games into the 2018 season, Melo disappeared from the court and reappeared on debate shows trying to explain why he still belonged. He wasn't injured, he was just unwanted. Then Portland stepped in. In November 2019, he signed a non-guaranteed deal and started right away. His first game back wasn't great, 10 points on rough shooting, but it was the beginning of something. Within weeks, his deal became guaranteed. He averaged over 15 points that season and re-signed the next year. He wasn't the same Melo, but he mattered again. He shifted his role. No longer the primary scorer, he spotted up more, cut the isolation, and focused on spacing. He even placed 7th in 6th man voting. Portland let him find rhythm in second units, and when he got hot, flashes of the old Melo came back. He admitted it was hard. He had to swallow pride and adjust, but he did. The league had changed, and so did he. From being out entirely to becoming a reliable piece again, Melo's comeback wasn't about dominance. It was about adaptation and proving he could still help a team win. Gordon Hayward, he was coming off an all-star season in Utah, signed by Boston to be a key piece of a championship run. Then succeed. Minutes into his debut, it happened. A freak fall on an alley. Oop attempt shattered his leg, fractured tibia and dislocated ankle. The scene was brutal, the season was over, and everything changed. He returned the next year, but it was clear his game needed time. He averaged just over 11 points that season and dealt with hesitation and rhythm issues. Then came more setback. In 2019, he fractured his left hand. In 2020, during the playoffs, he tore ligaments in his right ankle. After months of rehab, he made it back again. And it didn't stop there. In 2022, he hurt the same ankle again, followed by foot discomfort. He even dealt with a shoulder fracture that same year. Still, he kept suiting up, adapting his role and contributing. He never fully got back to that all-star version from Utah, but his perseverance was obvious. After everything, he found ways to stay productive in Boston, Charlotte, and Oklahoma City. His comeback wasn't one big moment. It was a long series of tough climbs, and he kept choosing to make the climb. Chris Paul, in 2010, he tore the lateral meniscus in his left knee. The damage was bad enough that surgeons didn't repair it. They removed part of it. That's a big deal. The meniscus cushions and stabilizes the knee, so taking some out can mean long-term wear and tear. But the team wanted a faster return, and Paul was back in 4 to 6 weeks. He only played 45 games that season, but he still averaged over 10 assists and 2 steals a night. That's how fast he bounced back. The concern was long-term durability. Less meniscus means more stress on the joint. Analysts worried about bone-on-bone contact or eventual arthritis. But Paul adjusted. He never lost his handle, his passing, or his IQ. His game has never been built just on athleticism, and that helped him evolve. Over time, he became more selective with his movement. Fewer reckless drives, more controlled stops, smarter angles. That torn meniscus, it didn't stop him. He played another decade at a high level, made all-star teams, and kept guiding offenses like clockwork. The injury could have derailed a lesser player, but Chris Paul used his brain, changed what he needed to, and just kept going. That knee didn't end him. Al Jefferson. In 2009, he was in the middle of a breakout year, averaging over 23 points and 10 rebounds when his knee gave out, torn ACL. For a center, that kind of injury has ended more than a few careers. He had surgery and missed the rest of the season. The comeback wasn't flashy, but it was steady. After being traded to Utah, he played all 82 games in 2010-11, putting up nearly 19 points and 10 boards. He wasn't quite the same explosive low-post scorer, but he was still a skilled, productive big. That return showed his rehab had worked. The wear kept building, though. In Charlotte, he missed games with ankle sprains, plantar fasciitis, and calf strains. In 2015, he tore the lateral meniscus in his right knee. Another surgery, another recovery. His games played, dropped, and his role slowly shifted. But he still had strong stretches. He adapted his game, relied more on footwork, touch, and positioning instead of athleticism. His ACL recovery remains one of the better ones for a big man. While he never hit that all-star ceiling again, he turned what could have been a short prime into a long, respectable career through resilience and skill. Rudy Gay. In January 2017, he tore his left Achilles, one of the worst injuries in basketball. At the time, he was still putting up nearly 19 points and over 6 rebounds a game. Then everything stopped. Season over, surgery followed, and most figured that was it for his prime. Achilles ruptures have ended a lot of careers, especially for wings in their 30s, but Gay didn't vanish. That summer, he signed with the Spurs. Everyone expected a slow comeback, but he surprised people by showing up to training camp ready. Early on, he played smart, efficient ball, scoring in double digits, shooting over 50%, and giving San Antonio solid bench production. His athleticism wasn't all the way back, less lift, less burst, but he adjusted. More mid-range, less ISO, more movement without the ball. He didn't force it. He said himself that he had to scale things back and focus on impact over volume. Gay's comeback wasn't about reclaiming stardom. It was about finding a way to stay in the league, stay productive, and help a team. He did exactly that, first with the Spurs, then later with Utah. For a guy whose career could have ended in that moment, Rudy Gay's return proves how adaptation keeps a career alive. Antonio McDeese. In the late 90s and early 2000s, he was a monster. 20 points, 10 boards, jumping out of the gym and finishing at the rim like it was a trampoline convention. He looked like a franchise cornerstone in Denver. Then came the knees. First, a partial patellar tendon tear in his left knee, then a fractured kneecap in that same leg the next season with New York. He played just 10 games in 21 months. The athleticism was gone. He could still play, but not like before. And here's where the real comeback started. McDeese didn't vanish, he adapted. In Detroit, he reshaped his game. He became a reliable mid-range shooter, played smart, rebounded well, and gave consistent minutes. No more highlight dunks, just solid veteran work. He was never the all-star again, but he played deep into his 30s, even helping San Antonio in his final years. He couldn't erase the injuries, but he didn't let them define the end of his story either. McDeese's career proves not all comebacks are flashy. Some are about persistence, reinvention, and showing you still belong. Even if you're not flying above the rim anymore, he didn't. Return to form. He created a new one, Channing Frye. This one wasn't about a torn ligament or a broken bone. In 2012, doctors found an enlarged heart during a routine checkup. And just like that, Frye was shut down for the entire season. No practices, no rehab, not even full court drills. This wasn't just career-threatening, it was life-threatening. For an NBA big man known for spacing the floor and launching threes, suddenly not being allowed to break a sweat was a massive drop. But he wasn't finished. A year later, with multiple doctors signing off, some from top hospitals, he got the green light to return. He called it one of the hardest years of his life, which makes sense considering the stakes. When he came back for the 2013 to 2014 season, he wasn't a starter every night, but he picked up where he left off, knocking down shots, stretching the floor, and playing smart. His role shifted. The burst wasn't all the way back and the minutes were more selective, but the shooting touch never left. He stuck around long enough to grab a ring with Cleveland in 2016, and later became a vet leader back on that same squad. For a guy nearly sidelined for good, that's some serious persistence. Kyle Lowry. Back in 2004, right before his first college season even started, Lowry tore his left ACL. It happened in late August, and just like that, his debut got delayed before he ever suited up for Villanova. The plan was surgery in mid-September, and there was even talk of redshirting the season, but that didn't happen. He ditched the crutches quickly, walked without a limp in under 2 weeks, and by November, he was running again. By late December, he was back at full practice. His return came on New Year's Eve against Pennsylvania, where he scored 5 in limited minutes. A few days later, he had 6 points, 6 boards, and 4 steals off the bench. That kind of stat line from a guy just coming back from an ACL tear? Impressive. He'd missed 7 games total, but once he returned, he stayed in the mix. The injury came at a rough time before he had any college game reps, so it slowed his start but didn't stop his rise. The ACL didn't derail anything long-term either. He went on to become a multiple-time All-Star and helped bring a title to Toronto. Looking back, it was a setback, but one he turned into part of his foundation. Willis Reed. Heading into the 1970 finals, Reed was the heart of the Knicks, literally and figuratively. He'd already won the league's MVP and was dominating in the postseason, but then came the torn thigh muscle in Game 5. He sat out Game 6, and by Game 7, everyone assumed he was done. The pain was real, and so was the uncertainty. But minutes before tip-off, Reed limped out onto the court during warm-ups. The building erupted. His presence shook the Lakers. He hit the first 2 shots of the game. Those would be his only points, but his impact was way bigger than stats. He played 27 minutes, clearly in pain, yet his entrance changed the entire feel of the night. Walt Frazier took over from there, but it was Reed's appearance that flipped the momentum. He helped New York secure their first title, earning Finals MVP on top of his season MVP. That moment defined his legacy, even more than his numbers. Later seasons were tough. Injuries piled up, especially in his knees, but he still contributed to another championship in 1973 before retiring. His comeback in that Game 7 became legend, not for what he scored, but for what he symbolized: grit, leadership, and belief. Adrian Dantley. In the 1982-83 season, he tore ligaments in his right wrist, his shooting wrist. That knocked him out for 60 games, which in an 82-game season is brutal. For a guy who built his game on precise touch, balance, and foul line finesse. That kind of injury could have wrecked everything. But the next season, he bounced back so well that the league gave him the Comeback Player of the Year award. He didn't just return, he won the scoring title. That means the wrist healed, the rhythm came back, and the skill didn't fade. His scoring craft, especially the ability to draw fouls and finish through contact, looked as sharp as ever. It wasn't luck, it was rehab, determination, and a very steady hand. Later on, he faced more adversity. In 1989-90, he broke his right fibula while with Dallas. That injury hit toward the end of his career, and the recovery was harder. He finished things out with a short run in Milwaukee, but the wrist comeback remained the more defining story. His legacy's tied to skill preservation under pressure. No highlight, dunks, or flashy sprints, just craft, control, and turning a major setback into another scoring crown. Grant Hill. Before everything fell apart, he was dominating. 21 points, almost 8 rebounds, over 6 assists per game in his first 6 seasons. He was supposed to be the next big thing, a future Hall of Famer on a clear path. But in 2000, his left ankle cracked. He kept playing on it, and it only got worse. Surgeries followed, but the real nightmare came in 2003. Doctors refractured and realigned his ankle, and days later, he caught a MRSA infection that nearly killed him. He missed the entire 2003 to 2004 season. By then, people figured he was done. But in 2004-05, he came back. 67 games, almost 20 points a game, all-star starter. It wasn't just survival, it was contribution at a high level. He wasn't the old Hill, but he still had value. After that, his career shifted. He became a vet presence with Phoenix, adapting to a lower usage role, focusing on leadership, defense, and spacing. The burst was gone, but the brain and fundamentals stayed. He finished with 19 seasons, which is wild considering what he went through. His comeback wasn't about dominance, it was about outlasting the odds, staying relevant, and redefining what resilience looks like. Stat: he came into the league like a wrecking ball, explosive, physical, and borderline unstoppable at the rim. But just before the 2005 season, doctors found damaged cartilage in his knee, and he underwent microfracture surgery. That procedure has sidelined plenty of players permanently. He came back late that season, dropped 20 in his first game back, but the knees didn't cooperate. The pain returned, the mobility was off, and he shut it down after just 3 games. By the next season though, he worked his way back. He logged a full year, returned to all-star level, and proved he could still produce. But the injuries didn't go away. Throughout his career, the knee problems kept popping up. In New York, he missed the first 30 games of the 2012-13 season. Later that year, more surgery. His minutes were capped. He had to adapt, fight through restrictions, and constantly manage wear and tear. His game changed. Less bounce, more timing. And even with all the setbacks, he stayed productive when available. He wasn't the same stat from Phoenix, but he kept showing up. His story isn't just about one comeback. It's about fighting through repeated breakdowns and still leaving a mark on the game. Bernard King. In 1985, he was untouchable, scoring champ, averaging almost 33 a night, fresh off a 60-point game on Christmas. Then came the fall. Torn ACL, torn meniscus, fractured femur. His right knee basically imploded. In that era, it was practically a death sentence for an athlete. He missed 2 full seasons. His knee was stapled shut with 41 metal clips. He had to rebuild everything: strength, mobility, confidence. And he did it away from the spotlight, rehabbing in near silence. He returned in 1987 with a 6-game test run, averaging over 22 points. Still had the jumper, still had the touch, but the Knicks let him go. That didn't end it. He signed with Washington and by age 34 was putting up nearly 28 a game again. He dropped 44 on Michael Jordan, 52 on Denver, and made another All-Star team. Was he the same? No. The burst was down, the cuts weren't as sharp, but the scoring, still deadly. He adapted. Less drive, more mid-range, quicker releases. His body broke down, but his instincts never did. King's comeback wasn't just about returning, it was about rewriting the ending. He turned a career-ending injury into a second act that still echoed greatness. Andrew Wiggins, drafted number 1 overall in 2014, hyped as the next big thing. People saw the athleticism, the upside, the length, but by the time he was deep into his Minnesota years, that shine had worn off. He was scoring, sure, but the efficiency was off. Advanced metrics, they lit him up. Low impact numbers, bad defense ratings, little playmaking. Writers were calling him a bust, some even before his 3rd season. Minnesota handed him a massive extension, which only turned up the heat. He was expected to carry the team, but the fit wasn't right. Heavy usage, no system clarity, and poor shot selection made everything worse. That all changed in 2020. Golden State brought him in, and everything recalibrated. Smaller role, clear expectations and a team that actually used his strength. By 2022, he was an all-star, not for scoring 30 a night, but for two-way consistency. In the playoffs, he defended starred, rebounded like a forward, and stepped up in the finals. That Game 5, 26 points and 13 rebounds. Huge. The bust label didn't age well. Since then, his offense dipped, partly due to off-court stress. But defensively, he's still reliable. His story isn't injury redemption, it's reputation recovery, a total shift in how value gets measured. 2016 Lakers. They finished with only 17 wins and 65 losses, the worst record the franchise has ever had. Offensively, they were a mess, putting up just 97.3 points per game, dead last in the entire league. Defensively, even worse. Opponents were lighting them up for over 105 points a night, and they didn't have a real defense presence to stop anyone. Byron Scott was in charge, but he didn't last. One and done with that ugly wreck. Mitch Kupchak tried to rebuild, but most of the veteran core had already left town. Rookies like D'Angelo Russell and Larry Nance Jr. came in, but they weren't enough. They tried adding Roy Hibbert and Lou Williams, but the fit wasn't there. Kobe Bryant's last season was rough. He shot just over 31% from the field, and somehow even worse from three. The team went 13-53 when he played, and 4-12 without him. They even tied a 10-game losing streak in January. Their pace didn't match the players, their spacing was awful, and their roster just didn't make sense. It wasn't rebuilding, it wasn't competing, it was just broken. 2010 Timberwolves. They tied their worst record ever with just 15 wins and 67 losses. Home games weren't much help either. 10 wins at Target Center, 5 on the road, and they dropped 16 in a row at one point. Offensively, they were barely functioning with a net rating a minus 10.4, bottom 2 in both scoring and defense. Their point differential hit negative 787, the worst in team history. They played at a fast pace, but it didn't matter because they couldn't stop anyone and couldn't shoot. They finished the season with an effective field goal percentage under 48%. Turnovers weren't horrible, but their defense wasn't forcing any either. Al Jefferson tried to carry them, averaging 17 points and 9 rebounds, but even he couldn't pull them out of the hole. Kevin Love was solid, but still a work in progress. Johnny Flynn made the all-rookie second team, but the rest of the roster lacked talent inside. Coaching from Kurt Rambis did not help. 0 wins to start his tenure. And the front office, a comedy of bad picks and worse trades, mismanagement, and poor execution made this season unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. 2015 Knicks. They ended the season with just 17 wins and 65 losses, the worst mark in team history. They averaged a miserable 91.9 points a game, the lowest in the league, and gave up over 101 points, making that a painful minus 9.3 differential. Their biggest losing streak hit 16 games, setting a new franchise record. Rookie coach Derek Fisher couldn't get much out of the group, and Phil Jackson's triangle offense turned the floor into a geometry test nobody passed. Carmelo Anthony only played 40 games before his knee gave out. Jose Calderon missed the final 40 with an Achilles injury. Stat got bought out after 36 games. Their best scorer, Tim Hardaway Jr. at just over 11 points. Cole Aldrich led in rebounds, Shane Larkin in assists and steals. They cycled through 19 different starters, just trying to find anything that worked. Trades sent J.R. Smith and Shumpert packing, and the team brought in a mix of role players nobody remembered. It was chaos at every level, on the court, in the locker room, and in the front office. That collapse got them the 4th pick, which turned into Porzingis. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, 2009 Thunder. In their debut season after leaving Seattle, they won just 23 games and lost 59. The disaster started right away. They opened the year at 3-29, with 14 straight losses in that stretch. PJ Carlesimo coached 12 of those losses before getting fired, and Scott Brooks stepped in and at least made them look semi-functional. Offensively, they were awful. Their offensive rating ranked 29th, and they were dead last in three-pointers made per possession. Their shooting percentage was nearly 3 points under league average. They ran at a decent pace, but didn't know what to do once they got down the court. Defensively, they weren't bottom of the barrel, but still couldn't stop anyone consistently. Kevin Durant did his best with 25 points a game, and rookie Russell Westbrook showed promise with 15 points and a triple-double. Jeff Green was serviceable, and Nick Collison was their top rebounder. But the lineup lacked depth and experience. The franchise's foundation was still wet cement. Everything from their offense to their rotations needed fixing. Still, this forgettable debut quietly set up a meteoric rise just 1 year later. 1993 Mavericks. They won only 11 games all season and dropped 71, the worst mark in team history and second worst win rate in league history at the time. They opened at 1-3 and then face-planted into a 12-game losing streak, followed soon by 15 more. February and March were brutal. A 19-game skid left them at 4-57. Richie Adubato started as coach, but after going 2-27, he got canned. Gar Hurd stepped in and managed 9 wins, which somehow didn't make things better. Their average margin of defeat was over 15 points, the worst in NBA history up to that point. Jim Jackson missed most of the year due to a contract standoff and finally debuted in March, giving them a little juice with 16 points per game. Derek Harper led the team with 18 points and 5 assists. Sean Rooks and Terry Davis did what they could, but the roster was patchwork. Fat Louver didn't play at all. The team did manage to win 7 of their last 21, but the season was already a crater. They got Jamal Mashburn in the draft because of course they did. 1997 Celtics. They finished with 15 wins and 67 losses, the worst record in franchise history. On the road, they were a catastrophe, winning just 4 out of 41 games. ML Carr was in charge of both coaching and front office duties, which turned out about as well as you'd expect. Their defense was atrocious, giving up over 107 points per game and finishing near the bottom in defensive rating. Their point differential ended up at -601. February was especially brutal. They went 1-13 that month alone. They suffered through a 13-game losing streak and couldn't even win close games, going 3-14 in one-possession outcomes. Antoine Walker led the way as a rookie with 17 points and 9 rebounds per game. David Wesley, Rick Fox, and Todd Day each put up solid scoring numbers and shot the three decently, but it didn't matter. Dino Radja only played 25 games because of his knee, and the rest of the team was constantly battling injuries. By the end of the season, the damage was done and Carr stepped down. It was a year everyone in Boston was ready to forget. 1999 Grizzlies. In a lockout-shortened 50-game season, they managed just 8 wins and 42 losses, the worst record in franchise history by win percentage. They opened at 4-6, but then spiraled, dropping 13 straight during February and March, and closed the year with 7 more losses. Offensively, they could barely crack 90 points a night, finishing near the bottom of the league at just under 89 points per game. Their defense wasn't doing them any favors either, giving up over 97 points a night. The point differential hovered around -9, which pretty much tells the whole story. Brian Hill coached the full season, but nobody could squeeze wins out of that roster. Sharif Abdur-Rahim averaged 23 points per game, dragging the team through blowouts, and rookie Mike Bibby did his part. Bryant Reeves missed over half the season, which didn't help. The franchise was already struggling with attendance, and this collapse didn't inspire confidence in Vancouver. Between financial pressure, ugly losses, and roster turnover, this season became the tipping point. Just 2 years later, they were gone, packing for Memphis and leaving behind a legacy of what could have been. 2008 Heat. They ended the year at 15-67, tying their expansion season for the worst record in franchise history. Pat Riley was both coach and team president, and this was his final season on the bench. For obvious reasons, the team averaged just over 91 points a game, dead last in the league, and gave up 100 per night. Their net rating was nearly -10 per 100 possessions, a glowing red flag for disaster. Wade was hurt most of the year and missed the final 21 games. Shaq got traded mid-season to Phoenix, which left them scrambling for help. Alonzo Mourning's career effectively ended with a knee injury in December. They tried a short reunion with Penny Hardaway, but he got waived almost immediately. Their style was up-tempo, but they had no execution. Ricky Davis led the team in scoring at just under 25 points, and nobody else could pick up the slack. The roster was an inconsistent mess, and January saw them go 1-13. It was a complete organizational collapse, sandwiched between a title run and the Big Three era, a painful transition season through and through. 1953 Warriors. They stumbled through a brutal 70-game season, finishing with just 12 wins and 57 losses, the worst win rate in franchise history. Eddie Gottlieb ran the show as both head coach and general manager, and nothing clicked. They averaged only 79 points per game while giving up over 86, which led to a -602 point differential. Their defense was leaky, and the offense wasn't much better outside of one man. Neil Johnston carried them with over 22 points per game and nearly 1,000 rebounds. He led the entire league in scoring and field goal percentage and still made an All-NBA first team. Too bad the rest of the team couldn't back him up. Paul Arizin missed the year due to military service, and his absence was felt. The rest of the roster just couldn't generate enough wins. They didn't string together any real momentum and capped the season with a lone bright spot, a 20-point win over Baltimore in February. It was a complete collapse from the previous year's average finish and remains the biggest statistical low point in Warriors history. Johnston was elite. The team was not. 2012, Bobcats/Hornets. They finished with 7 wins and 59 losses, the worst win percentage in NBA history. April was a disaster, 0 wins and a 23-game losing streak to close the season. Offensively, they were painful to watch. They averaged just 87 points per game, last in the league, and their defense gave up over 100, which gave them a negative differential of nearly 14 points per game. Their net rating was anywhere from -9 to -15, depending on the game, and no metric made them look remotely competitive. Gerald Henderson led the team with just over 15 points per game, and Corey Maggette matched that in limited minutes. Rookie Kemba Walker played all 66 games and posted 12 points and 4 assists per night, while Bismack chipped in with some rebounding and shot blocking. DJ Augustine averaged 11 points and 6 assists when healthy, but the team never found any rhythm. Paul Silas coached the entire mess and was replaced afterward. They didn't even get the #1 pick, ended up drafting second. This wasn't just a rebuild, it was a complete organizational faceplant that still lives in infamy. 2005 Hornets/Pelicans. They stumbled to an 18-64 record, their worst in franchise history. It was their first year in the brutal Southwest Division, and they didn't stand a chance. They lost their first 8 games, opened 2-29, and ended the season with 9 straight losses. They averaged just 88 points per game, dead last in the league, and allowed close to 97. Their point differential was around -580 over the season. Byron Scott coached the full disaster, and the roster got gutted midway through. Davis got traded to Golden State in February. David Wesley was sent to Houston. Jamal Mashburn didn't play a single game due to his knee. Lee Nailon somehow led the team in scoring at just under 12 points per game. PJ Brown grabbed 9 rebounds per night, and Dan Dickow led the team in assists with 346. J.R. Smith was the rookie, but he didn't move the needle much. No one could carry the offense, and the team had no reliable direction. The only silver lining? That disaster led to the #4 pick and a new era with Chris Paul. 1998 Nuggets. They managed only 11 wins and lost 71, setting the worst record in franchise history. Bill Hanslick coached the entire debacle and was fired afterward. They tied one of the longest losing streaks in NBA history with 23 straight losses and never won more than 2 games in a row. Offensively, they were awful, last in the league with a rating just under 100. Defensively, somehow worse. They allowed over 113 points per 100 possessions and finished with a league worst net rating of -13. Opponents shot over 50% effectively, and Denver couldn't stop anyone. They gave up 133 points to the Nets in December and allowed over 130 multiple times after that. Johnny Newman led the team in scoring with under 15 points per game. Ellis and Bobby Jackson were solid, and Jackson earned a spot on the all-rookie second team. Dean Garrett started every game, and Danny Fortson chipped in. Eric Williams played 4 games before a season-ending injury. Nothing worked. The front office even fired the general manager mid-season. This wasn't just bad, it was historically broken from every angle. 2014 Bucks. They ended the season at 15-67, their worst record ever. Larry Drew coached the full collapse, and the front office flipped most of the roster mid-season. Offensively, they were bottom of the league with just over 95 points a game. Defensively, just as bad, allowing nearly 104 per night. Their point differential sat at -8.2, and they never found consistency. They lost 11 straight at one point, and never had more than a single win in a row. Brandon Knight led the team in scoring at nearly 18 points a game. Chris Middleton played all 82 games and gave them 12 points per night with solid efficiency. O.J. Mayo added about 11 points in just over 50 games. Ersan Ilyasova and John Henson helped with rebounding, but no one could carry the team. Rookie Giannis averaged under 7 points, but made the all-rookie second team and led all rookies in blocks. That season was the low point, but also the foundation. The team was sold mid-season, setting up a new era. The core pieces were in place, even if the results weren't there yet. 2025 Jazz. They finished at 17-65, the worst record in franchise history and last in the Western Conference. Their previous low was 23 wins way back in the 70s. This time, they didn't even get their first win until late October and lost 20 of their last 22 games. Their defense was historically awful, allowing over 120 points a night. That gave them a net rating of around -9, and they never looked competitive. The offense hovered around 111 points, which wasn't horrible, but it couldn't offset the nightly defensive collapse. Laurie and John Collins each averaged 19 points but missed significant time. Colin Sexton and Keontae chipped in, and Walker Kessler pulled down over 12 rebounds a game. Jordan Clarkson came off the bench for 16 points per night. Oscar Tshiebwe even made a few headlines with his rebounding when called up. The team hit 60 losses by late March, a first in Jazz history. Despite all that, Coach Will Hardy was extended through 2031, showing management's commitment to a long rebuild instead of a quick fix. 1987 Clippers. They couldn't buy a win. 12-70 is downright brutal, and that point differential, -937. That's not just losing, that's getting absolutely steamrolled for 82 games. Don Chaney was stuck coaching the whole mess and got canned right after. Elgin Baylor ran the front office, while Donald Sterling kept the ship pointed straight toward disaster. Offensively, they barely cleared 104 points a night, and their defense gave up around 112. That's a recipe for nightly embarrassment. They kicked things off with 12 losses in their first 18, then closed the year with a 14-game freefall. Their worst beatdown came from Portland, who dropped 134 on them while they managed just 99. Mike Woodson tried to keep them afloat with 17 a night, and Michael Cage hustled his way to nearly 12 boards. But that wasn't enough. Cedric Maxwell and Benoit Benjamin chipped in, and Larry Drew did what he could. The draft class was a complete non-factor. Mid-season trades just shuffled deck chairs. This season wasn't just bad, it became a punchline. Everything that could go wrong did, and the legacy is still stuck to them like glue. 2024 Pistons. This was a meltdown from tip-off to buzzer, 14-68. That's their worst record ever and the lowest in the league. But what really made it infamous? 28 straight losses. That tied the NBA record and stretched across 2 brutal months. They finished dead, last in the East and the Central. Their offense couldn't crack the bottom tier with a rating of 108.3. Their defense ranked near the cellar too, allowing a net rating of -10. Turnovers were everywhere, and they let opponents shoot over 56% on effective field goals. Cade Cunningham led with over 22 a game, but his efficiency just wasn't there. Jalen Duren crashed the boards and scored efficiently, one of the few bright spots. Jaden Ivey had his moments but lacked consistency. Thompson flashed elite athleticism, then hit the injury wall. Bogey put up solid numbers but got shipped out after 28 games. Home and road records were equally awful. 1 win in December. Monty Williams took the reins, but the rebuild looked messier than ever. With no real veteran guidance, fans got frustrated fast, and the team gave them plenty of reasons. 2024 Wizards, 15-67, locked in their worst record ever. Even worse than back when they were the Chicago Pack. They hit rock bottom with a brutal winless February, dropping all 12 games and forcing a coaching switch. Wes Unseld Jr. started 736 before stepping aside. Brian Keefe took over and didn't fare much better, going 8-31. Offensively, they were around 108 points a night, not dead last, but still subpar. The defense collapsed constantly, giving them the worst scoring margin in franchise history. Roster moves were clearly future-focused. They traded away Bradley Beal and drafted Bilal Coulibaly, who became their youngest starter ever. He averaged just over 8 before going down with a wrist injury. Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma tried to carry the scoring load, but it rarely led to wins. They opened 1-1 and then tumbled to 3-15 by the end of November. The entire season was just loaded with losing streaks. Only 5 wins came in March, and April did nothing to salvage it. The whole year became a painful reboot with no real foundation in place, just vague hopes for growth. 1973 Sixers, just 9 wins, 73 losses. No teams ever lost more in a full season. They started the year with 15 straight losses, then added a 20-game streak for good measure. At one point, they had lost 34 out of 35. Roy Rubin, who somehow got hired despite 0 NBA experience, coached them to a 4-47 record before being replaced by player coach Kevin Loughery, who went 5-26 the rest of the way. Rubin was so out of place that players said his practices felt like a teenager trying to run a company. It got ugly fast. By February, they were 4-58. Their point differential was -12.1 per game. That's not losing close games, that's just losing bad. Hal Greer, a holdover from their title days, was 36. Billy Cunningham bailed for the ABA before it all began. Rookie Fred Boyd averaged 20 points and somehow made the all-rookie team, but it barely mattered. Tom Van Arsdale chipped in 17 per game, and Leroy Ellis grabbed rebounds. None of it changed the outcome. This team didn't just struggle, they set the standard for rock bottom. 1990 Magic. 1864 isn't glamorous, but for an expansion team, it could have been worse. They actually dropped 110 a night, ranking 5th in the league in scoring. But that defense gave up nearly 120, dead last. That minus 8.7 point margin wasn't shocking once you saw how often opponents had wide open lanes. They came out strong with a 7-7 record in November, tricking folks into thinking they might not be terrible. Then came a 15-game losing streak that cleared up the confusion. Terry Catledge led with 19 a game and pulled down nearly 8 boards. Reggie Theus, one of their veteran picks, added 18 and ran the offense with over 5 assists. Rookie Nick Anderson showed promise, scoring 11 off the bench most nights. Otis Smith gave them double digits too, and Sidney Green flirted with a nightly double-double. Coach Matt Guokas held it together with a patchwork roster from the expansion draft. They picked Anderson at number 11, setting a cornerstone for later. No playoffs, obviously, but for a first-year squad in a new arena, they built some momentum, even if most of it came from scoring and not stops. 1969, Suns. They entered the league and instantly hit the basement, finishing with 16 wins and 66 losses. Coach Red Kerr had the thankless job of guiding this expansion mess. Offensively, they were decent for a first-year squad, putting up over 111 points a night. But the defense? Yikes. They gave up over 120, dead last in the league. That minus 8.8 point margin made blowouts the norm. Their worst loss came by 35 to the Knicks. Their best win was a 29-point beatdown of the Warriors. Gail Goodrich was electric, dropping nearly 24 a night and earning an all-star nod. Dick Van Arsdale chipped in 21 and hauled in almost 8 boards. Jim Fox and Gary Greger helped on the glass, both pulling down solid rebound numbers. Neil Johnson was another board magnet, but no amount of hustle could stop the bleeding. They lost big, they lost often, and they missed the playoffs entirely. Still, for an expansion team, they showed flashes. 1 year later, they nearly broke even and made the postseason. This was the rough draft of a future playoff squad, drawn in blowouts and losses. 2001 Bulls. This was the absolute low point. 15 wins and 67 losses made it the worst full season in team history. They averaged just 87 points a night, dead last, and gave up nearly 97. That minus 9.1 margin wasn't just ugly, it was constant failure. Tim Floyd coached all season and somehow kept the job, despite opening by losing 24 of the first 27 games. Elton Brand was the only real bright spot. He averaged 20 points and 10 boards and basically carried the team. Ron Mercer was second in scoring until he got traded. Rookie Ron Artest showed some defensive promise and grit, but the roster was young, inexperienced, and slapped together from scratch. The team had no identity. Their worst loss? A 45-point drubbing by Utah. They were outmatched nightly and routinely ran off the court. The post-Jordan collapse was in full effect. Scotty, Rodman, and Kukoc were long gone, and the team was scrambling for direction. Krause kept shuffling the deck, but there was no real veteran leadership left. This wasn't just a rebuild. It was a full teardown. Loud, messy, and historically bad. 1998 Raptors. 16-66 locked in the worst season in franchise history. They opened with 17 straight losses and sat at 1-19 before fans could even figure out who was on the roster. Doug Christie was their top guy, dropping over 16 a game with solid rebounding and steals. John Wallace played all 82 games and chipped in 14 a night. Marcus Camby led the league in blocks, but could only do so much behind a defense that gave up way too many easy looks. Tracy McGrady, still a rookie and barely old enough to shave, averaged 7 points off the bench. Damon Stoudemire started strong, but got traded midway through, sparking chaos. They swapped him for Kenny Anderson, who refused to show up, which led to even more roster shuffling. Billups showed up eventually, but it was a team full of rookies, rebuild projects, and guys still figuring out what city they played for. Darrell Walker went 11-38 before Butch Carter took over and finished with 5 wins in 28 games. They ended the year losing 16 of their last 17. It was pure struggle from buzzer to buzzer. 1983 Rockets. They lost 68 games and only won 14. That's not just a bad year, it was the worst in team history. Del Harris coached the whole way through and somehow survived it. They were dead last in both their division and the conference, and nothing about the season was redeemable. Offensively, they managed just under 100 points per game, but defensively, they gave up nearly 111. That's a minus 11.6 margin, which basically meant they were losing by double digits every night. Alan Leavell did his best, leading the team in points, assists, and steals. Caldwell Jones grabbed 668 rebounds and swatted 131 shots. Elvin Hayes, pushing 38, still averaged nearly 13 points. but the roster had no punch. Joe Bryant added 10, and Terry Teagle and Wally Walker tried to keep it respectable. The team made no major moves. It was tank mode in slow motion. That year set the stage for back-to-back top picks, including Ralph Sampson and then Hakeem. This disaster wasn't an accident. It was the blueprint. They just had to survive the embarrassment to reach the payoff later. 1997 Spurs. This was a collapse of epic proportions. 20 and 62s landed them near the bottom of the entire league. It started with Bob Hill coaching them to 3 wins in 18 games before getting the boot. That's when Pop took over and began a coaching era that still hasn't ended. But that first year, brutal. David Robinson played only 6 games thanks to injuries. Chuck Person didn't play at all. Sean Elliott barely made it halfway. The team's leading scorer was Dominique Wilkins, who was pushing 40 and still putting up 18 a night. That's all you need to know. They averaged just over 90 points per game, 3rd worst in the league, and allowed almost 98. Their point margin sat just under -8. They finished the season on a 6-game losing streak, a poetic end to a season full of lowlights. Avery Johnson ran the offense, but he couldn't stop the bleeding. The roster was patched together with veterans and role players like Vinny Del Negro and Will Perdue, both doing their best on a team going nowhere. Still, this disaster somehow birthed a dynasty. 1 year later, they drafted Tim Dunk, 1983 Pacers. 20 and 62 wasn't quite their all-time low, but it was definitely a faceplant. Jack McKinney coached the entire season, but with the defense giving up over 114 points a night, his hands were tied behind his back. Their offense wasn't terrible, posting nearly 109 a game, but it didn't matter when they let everyone score at will. Clark Kellogg was the silver lining, leading the team as a rookie with 20 points and over 10 boards a night. He earned all-rookie first-team honors and actually looked like a real building block. Billy Knight brought in 17, a game with steady veteran presence. Herb Williams chipped in almost 17 and 7. George Johnson added 11 and 6, doing his part in the front court. Guys like Butch Carter, Clement Johnson, and Jerry Sichting scored around 10 each, but nobody could stop anyone on the other end. They weren't competitive in the Central, finishing 31 games behind Milwaukee. It was all scoring, no defense, and no playoffs. A team built on hope, decent rookies, and missed rotation. It was loud on offense and invisible on defense. 1982 Cavaliers. 15 and 67 says enough, but it gets worse. They burned through 4 different coaches in one season. Don Delaney went 4 and 11. Bob Kloppenberg lost all 3 of his games. Chuck Daly had a forgettable 9 and 32 stretch, and Bill Musselman limped to 2 and 21. And somehow, all of that chaos was still overshadowed by owner Ted Stepien, whose moves were so bad, the league made a rule just to stop him. The team allowed over 122 points per 100 possessions, while scoring at an average pace way below league norms. They had the slowest pace in the league and one of the worst net ratings ever at -9.9. Their shooting was weak, offensive rebounds were non-existent, and the defense was a turnstile. Mike Mitchell and Ron Brewer both scored around 19 per game, but they only played partial seasons. James Edwards and Kenny Carr were solid, but it didn't matter. They never got close to 200 winning percentage, and the losing just kept piling up. It wasn't just a bad team, it was a full-on mismanaged wreck that left a permanent scar on league policy. 2005 Hawks, 13 and 69. That's the worst record in team history, and somehow it looked even worse than it sounds. They averaged just under 93 points a game, placing them near the bottom in scoring and allowed nearly 800 more than they scored. Mike Woodson coached the entire mess, while the front office tried mixing veterans with rookies and came out with oatmeal. Walker led the team with over 20 points a game before they traded him mid-season for a package that included Gary Payton, who didn't even suit up. Al Harrington gave a consistent 17 and 7. Tyronn Lue showed up after a trade and managed 13 a night. Josh Childress and Josh Smith both made all-rookie second team, but they were part of a rebuild that didn't yet know what it was building. The team opened 2 and 12 and then finished the year losing 32 of their last 35. They had losing streaks of 13 and 14 games. It wasn't competitive and it wasn't cohesive, just long stretches of confusion and blowouts. A low point, sure, but one that dragged the franchise deep into reset territory. 2009 Kings. They finished 17 and 65. The worst record in franchise history. 1 win against the Eastern Conference all year, just 1. Reggie Theus started the season and got canned after 6 wins in 24 games. Kenny Natt took over and didn't do much better, dropping 47 of 58. The defense was practically non-existent, allowing nearly 115 points per game. The point differential was around -14, meaning blowouts were just the normal routine. Kevin Martin still managed nearly 25 points per game but only played 51 games, John Salmons gave them 18, a night before being traded. Jason Thompson played every game and averaged 11 and 7 as a rookie. Spencer Hawes and Brad Miller did what they could in the front court before Miller got shipped off too. Francisco Garcia and Beno Udrih scored in double digits. Andres Nocioni came in from Chicago and added 13 per game, but it was never enough. They traded Ron Artest in the preseason and then just unraveled. Coaching, roster moves, injuries, it all imploded. 1-29 against the East. That's not a season. That's a basketball-induced cry for help. 2010, Nets, 12-70. That's the worst season in franchise history, and it wasn't even close. They opened with 18 straight losses, setting an NBA record for the worst start ever. Lawrence Frank didn't make it past Game 16. Tom Barris filled in for 2 games, and then Kiki Vandeweghe took over and led them to just 12 wins in 64 tries. They were dead last in scoring, averaging just over 92 a night. Their offense had the worst rating in the league, and their defense wasn't far behind. The point differential was about -9 per game, and they lost almost every game by double digits. Brook Lopez was the lone bright spot, playing all 82 games and leading the team with almost 19 points and 9 boards. Devin Harris chipped in nearly 17 a night, and Courtney Lee added 12 and some steals. Janlian and Terrence Williams had moments, but none of it mattered. They were 446 at one point. That's not rebuilding. That's emergency shutdown mode. It was chaos, incompetence, and history all rolled into one deeply unfortunate year. 1972 Blazers. In their second season, they put up 18 wins and 64 losses, dead last in the league. Roland Todd coached them to a dismal 12-44 start before getting replaced by Stu Inman, who somehow made things worse, going 6-20. They lost by an average of nearly 9 points per game and couldn't string anything together outside of one 3-game win streak in December. But there were signs of life. Rookie Sidney Wicks was a revelation, averaging nearly 25 points and 11 boards and taking home Rookie of the Year honors. Jeff Petrie still scored at a high clip with almost 19 a game. Even though he missed 22 contests, Stan McKenzie played every game and dropped just under 14 points a night. Gary Greger gave solid production, and Dale Schluter averaged a quiet double-double. Rick Adelman dished out over 5 assists while running the point. Offense wasn't completely hopeless, but the defense was paper thin. They got blown out by 32 at Phoenix in March. Still, it was year 2 of a new franchise, and somehow, this painful mess started to build the team's identity. Scoring. For this video, we're only going to talk about what Wemby and MJ did in their first 2 seasons, and a little bit from their third seasons eventually. Jordan's rookie year didn't just turn heads, it drop-kicked the scoreboard. He put up 28.2 points per game over all 82 games, which added up to a total of 2,313 points. That's a mountain of buckets. His efficiency was no joke either. He shot 51.5% from the field and knocked down 84.5% of his free throws. All that while playing 38.3 minutes a night. The man wasn't pacing himself. He came out swinging. In contrast, Wemby's first season looked different, but still strong for a rookie, especially given his size and the modern game's pace. He averaged 21.4 points per game across 71 games, landing him at 1,522 total points. Not exactly Jordan-level production, but definitely not underwhelming. His shooting numbers were lower, with a field goal percentage of 46.5 and a free throw mark of 79.6. From deep, he shot 32.5%, hitting 128 threes out of 394 tries. He played 29.7 minutes per game, so a decent amount of his production came in tighter windows. Now, Jordan's second season, it came with a big asterisk. He only played 18 games, so the sample's tiny. He averaged 22.7 points in those games, which brought his season total to 408 points. A dip in scoring, but again, he only played 25.1 minutes per game. His field goal percentage also took a step down, coming in at 45.7, and his free throws hovered at 84%. Not quite the same rhythm as his debut season. Meanwhile, Wemby's second year showed actual growth. In 46 games, he averaged 24.3 points per game, which gave him a total of 1,527 points. He bumped up his shooting to 47.6% from the field and improved his three-point shooting to 35.2%. He hit 142 threes out of 403 attempts, so the volume stayed high. His free throw shooting also climbed to 83.6%, which helps keep scoring steady. Minutes-wise, he was at 33.2 per game. That's more court time and more output. Across both seasons, Jordan totaled 2,721 points. Wemby, through his first 2 years, ended up with 3,049 total points, split nearly even between both seasons. But again, Jordan's second year was clipped short, so the per-game average really tells more of the story. Speaking of per-game numbers, Jordan still has the highest rookie scoring average here, at 28.2. Wemby's 21.4 was solid, but not on that level. And in the second year, Wemby actually outscored Jordan per game, putting up 24.3 to Jordan's 22.7. Though it's hard to say how that holds up over a full season, considering Jordan's minutes were way down, there's also a shift in efficiency. Jordan started stronger, with that 51.5 field goal percentage in year 1, then dropped to 45.7 in year 2. Wemby went the other way, starting at 46.5 and rising to 47.6. That upward trend matters, especially for a young player adjusting to NBA defenses. Wemby's game also includes range. Jordan didn't take threes in his early years like players do today, so comparing long-range shooting doesn't really make sense. But still, Wemby shot 32.5% from deep in year 1, then 35.2% in year 2. That kind of growth from the perimeter shows he's adding to his offensive arsenal. Another thing, free throws. Jordan stayed consistent both years, hitting 84.5% in his rookie year and 84% in year 2. Wemby started a bit lower at 79.6, but raised it to 83.6, which helps his scoring stay efficient when games slow down. So if you're looking at scoring volume, Jordan's rookie season was a punch to the league's face. 2,313 points and 28.2 per game across 82 games is wild. Wemby didn't reach that total in either season individually, but when you combine both years, his total is higher, thanks to way more games played in year 2. And that's where context really matters. Jordan's second season isn't the best measuring stick because of how short it was. 18 games isn't a lot to build trends on, but Wemby had more opportunity to find rhythm and consistency, and it shows in how his scoring numbers climbed from season 1 to season 2. One more difference, minutes. Jordan was logging 38.3 per game in year 1, which is heavy for a rookie. Wemby was at 29.7 in his rookie season, then 33.2 the next year. That makes his per minute scoring even more impressive, especially as he started to get more touches and playmaking responsibility. So to wrap it tight, Jordan came in hot and stayed efficient, even in a limited second season. Wemby came in solid and made a clear jump in year 2, both in efficiency and volume. The scoring paths are different, but both show why these guys grabbed attention right away. Defense. Jordan's rookie season was full throttle on both ends, and the defense stats back it up. He played all 82 games and racked up 196 steals, averaging 2.4 per game. That's a huge number for a guard stepping into the league. He also added 0.8 blocks per game, totaling 69 blocks across the season, showing he wasn't afraid to challenge shots at the rim either. On the glass, he grabbed 4.5 defensive boards per game and added 2 offensive rebounds. And while he didn't earn a defensive award, he still landed on the all-rookie first team, which usually favors high-impact players. In year 2, Jordan's defense output came in a much shorter window. He played just 18 games, logging 25.1 minutes per game. Still, he averaged 2.1 steals and bumped his blocks up to 1.2 per game. That gave him 37 steals and 21 blocks total. So even with reduced time, he stayed active on that end. The lack of accolades that season wasn't surprising, given how few games he played, but the steals and blocks stayed strong, even if the volume dipped. Now flip to Wemby. His rookie season in San Antonio was wild on defense. He led the entire league in blocks per game with 3.6, finishing the year with a ridiculous 254 blocks in just 71 games. His reach and timing made it tough for anyone to get comfortable near the rim. On top of that, he averaged 1.2 steals per game and totaled 88 steals overall. For a player his size, that's a lot of ground covered. He also grabbed 8.4 defensive boards per game and added 2.3 on the offensive glass. But the numbers were just the start. He became the first rookie in league history to be named to the NBA All-Defensive First Team. He also finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. That kind of defensive impact from a rookie is rare, and the league recognized it. In year 2, Wemby somehow cranked things up even more. He played 46 games, and while the total wasn't high, the production didn't dip. He averaged 3.8 blocks per game, bringing his total to 176 blocks for the season. His steals came in at 1.1 per game, giving him 52 total steals. Rebounding on the defensive end rose to 9.2 per game, and he pulled in 1.8 on the offensive end. He again led the league in blocks per game, despite missing games later in the year. He also made his first All-Star appearance, which isn't a defensive award, but it speaks to how complete his game was becoming. His eligibility for Defensive Player of the Year took a hit since he didn't reach the minimum 65 games, but his numbers were still elite. Looking at their rookie season side by side, Jordan had more steals by a wide margin, 196 compared to Wemby's 88, but Wemby destroyed the blocks category, racking up 254 compared to Jordan's 69. Wemby was also the better defensive rebounder with 8.4 per game, while Jordan had 4.5. Position matters, sure, but the numbers are still the number. Wemby's defense presence was felt at the rim and beyond, and Jordan's came more from on-ball pressure and passing lane disruption. In their second seasons, the contrast is even more pronounced. Jordan's per-game steals dipped slightly, and his blocks ticked up to 1.2, but the sample size was small. 18 games just doesn't give a full look. Wemby, on the other hand, stayed consistent, or even better, his blocks per game went up to 3.8, which is nearly unheard of in back-to-back seasons, and his defensive rebounding rate climbed as well. He averaged over 9 defensive boards per game, which helped anchor the Spurs' paint protection. The total steals were lower, but that's partly due to fewer games played. Accolade-wise, it's not close. Jordan didn't land any major defensive recognition in his first 2 years. Wemby already has a league-leading blocks title in both seasons, one all-defensive first-team selection, and a Defensive Player of the Year runner-up finish. That's a packed resume in just 2 years, and that's not normal. It sets a defensive tone for his career early, while Jordan's reputation as a lockdown defender built up over time. So through 2 years, Wemby's defense production has been more impactful in terms of blocks, recognition, and anchoring his team. Jordan showed elite potential early with his steals, intensity, and pressure, but his defensive legacy didn't fully bloom until later. Both started strong, but Wemby's impact on that end has already hit league-wide recognition. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, teammates, Jordan's first 2 seasons in Chicago came with a rotating cast of characters that didn't exactly scream dynasty. In year 1, his head coach was Kevin Lafferty, a veteran coach who handed Jordan the keys right away. The Bulls were still trying to figure out their identity, and the roster reflected that. He had Ennis Watley running the point, who was more of a facilitator than a scoring threat. Orlando Woolridge was the leading scorer before Jordan showed up, and he was still getting his touches at the wing. Steve Johnson brought size in the front court, while Dave Corzine held down the middle. None of those names came with elite playoff resumes or high-level accolade. David Greenwood and Rod Higgins filled out the forward spots, offering energy and depth. And then there was Caldwell Jones, an aging big man who had been around a while, mostly brought in for veteran presence. Not a bad mix, but nobody that was shifting the Eastern Conference balance. Jordan was clearly the focal point from the jump. By season 2, the Bulls made a couple moves that added more flavor to the roster. Stan Albeck stepped in as head coach. They drafted Charles Oakley, who immediately brought physicality and rebounding muscle. That was a big shift. Oakley was raw but tough, and the Bulls needed that. Then came George Gervin, a late career Hall of Famer who joined for one final run. The Iceman could still score, but he wasn't in his prime. He helped space the floor, sure, but this wasn't a duo of future legends teaming up, more like an icon passing the torch. Beyond that, the core stayed mostly the same. Watley, Corzine, Woolridge, they were still around, but it was Jordan doing most of the heavy lifting. On paper, Jordan's early teams had experience, but lacked a true co-star. There wasn't another all-star in his prime. The Iceman had name value, Oakley had potential, but Jordan was already carrying the franchise while everyone else tried to figure out their roles. It was a roster in transition, not one built to win big right away. Wemby's first 2 seasons felt very different, but with a similar lack of proven talent. In his rookie year, the Spurs had Greg Popovich running the bench, which automatically gave the whole thing credibility. Popovich is one of the most decorated coaches in history, so Wemby didn't have to worry about leadership from that spot. His teammates, though, were mostly young and developing. Devin Vassell was a wing who showed scoring flashes, but wasn't consistent yet. Keldon Johnson brought energy and physicality, and Jeremy Sohan added versatility on defense and ball movement. None of them were veterans, and none of them had even touched deep playoff runs. Zach Collins gave the front court some depth, but injuries had slowed his career before Wemby even arrived. Jones ran the point, offering steady play but limited scoring punch. Then came some real experience. Harrison Barnes was also on the squad. Barnes had championship history, but was clearly in a supporting roles, not driving the engine. In year 2, much of that core stuck around. The Spurs still leaned young, and Greg Popovich started the season as coach again. Later in the year, Mitch Johnson took over in an acting role, giving the team a different voice. The roster still featured Vassell, Sohan, Johnson, Collins, and Jones. Chris Paul also joined the squad too. He joined Harrison Barnes as the vet, helping with leadership, but not dominating the ball. Wemby remained the centerpiece, just like Jordan in Chicago. But unlike Jordan's squads, the Spurs were intentionally rebuilding. The goal wasn't immediate contention, it was development. So when you line it up, Jordan had some experienced veterans and one fading star, but no all-star running mate. His coaches were experienced, but not championship caliber yet. Wemby had one of the best coaches in league history, plus 2 veterans with deep playoff experience, but neither in starring roles. His teammates were younger, less accomplished, and clearly still learning the game at the NBA level. Jordan was thrust into leadership on a team that hadn't figured itself out yet. Wemby landed in a patient system that gave him room to grow, but less help when it came to nightly performance. Both players were the top option immediately. Both had to lead on the floor, but Wemby's support group was about potential. Jordan's was about managing dysfunction. Neither team was built for instant success. Neither roster was top-heavy with talent. The difference? Jordan had to drag the Bulls into relevance with a rotating mix of veterans. Wemby had a front office that clearly hit the reset button and told him, "We're building around you slowly." Different roads, same early burden. Start to third seasons. Jordan wasted 0 time. Game 1 of year 3, he lit up the Knicks for 50 points in 41 minutes, shooting just under 50% and knocking down 20 of 22 free throws. He wasn't coasting, he went full throttle. He also pulled in 6 rebounds, dropped 3 assists, picked off 4 steals, and blocked 3 shots. Even with 6 turnovers, it was pure dominance. Less than 24 hours later, he rolled into Cleveland and dropped 41 points on over 50% shooting. He still lived at the free throw line, hitting 9 of 12. He grabbed 8 boards, threw out 2 assists, and swatted away 4 more shots. Only 3 turnovers this time. Back-to-back road wins, both with 40-plus points. That's not easing in. That's charging through the league's front door. Then came San Antonio. Game 3, Jordan scored 34 while adding 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks. The shooting dipped slightly to about 45%, but the defensive pressure stayed high. He turned it over 6 times again, but no one cared. He controlled the pace and wore teams out. Through 3 games, he looked like he'd aged 10 years in IQ and stamina. Game 4, Detroit finally got a win, but even in a loss, Jordan threw up 33 points on 11 of 26 shooting, hit 11 of 15 free throws, and added 5 assists. He didn't grab a single rebound, rare for him, but still stole the ball once and blocked a shot. Chicago lost, but Jordan's output didn't drop. He averaged just under 40 points over the first 4 games. This was the launch pad for his 37.1 per game season, and he made it very clear that nothing about his second-year injury was holding him back anymore. Now look at Wemby. His 3rd season started differently, but not quietly. Opening night against Dallas, he scored 40 on 71.4% shooting and 50% from 3. He pulled down 15 rebounds, blocked 3 shots, and stole 1 assist, and 0 turnover. That's not just dominance, that's control. The Spurs won big, and he didn't even break a sweat. Game 2, on the road in New Orleans, Wemby put up 29 points, 11 rebounds, and an outrageous 9 blocks. That's not just elite, that's erasing plays off the court. He hit over 56% of his shots and went 75% from the line. Again, 0 turnovers. That kind of efficiency from a high-usage player is nearly unheard of. He did foul out, but the team still pulled out an overtime win. His impact was everywhere. Game 3 against Brooklyn was just another case of him being everywhere at once. 31 points, 14 rebounds, 6 blocks, 3 steals. He shot 50% from 3 again and kept defenders guessing on every possession. This wasn't just length and timing, this was skill-meeting instinct. He even hit 2/3 of his free throws. That was arguably his most balanced game so far. Game 4 versus Toronto was clinical. 24 points on 87.5% shooting. He missed only 1 shot the entire game, grabbed another 15 rebounds, added 4 assists, blocked 1 shot, and swiped a steal. He didn't make a 3, but didn't need to. When you're that efficient inside the arc and perfect from the line, spacing takes care of itself. Spurs cruised, and Wemby was the reason. So in 4 games to start year 3, Wemby averaged around 31 points, 14 boards, 5 blocks, and a ridiculous shooting line. 2 of those games had 0 turnover. His impact was game-changing without being erratic. He didn't need 35 shots to get 30 points. He took smart shots and made most of them. Meanwhile, Jordan's start was more volume-heavy, but with similarly historic production. He scored nearly 40 per game over those first 4. He also played over 40 minutes a night, shouldering nearly every offensive and defensive burden. His efficiency was strong, especially for the era and for that kind of usage. He logged double-digit free throw attempts every night and hit them at over 80%. His defense was equally active with double-digit steals and 9 blocks across 4 games. Wemby's game leans more on rim protection and efficiency, while Jordan's early season run was powered by constant pressure and unrelenting pace. Both players came into their 3rd seasons, making it clear, this is my team, this is my league. Jordan already had the scoring title in his sights. Wemby's just starting his push, but through 4 games, it's already loud. Efficiency. Jordan entered the league as a scoring machine, but he didn't just pile up points, he did it with one of the best rookie efficiency profiles ever. His player efficiency rating in year 1 was 25.8, a mark that instantly put him among the top tier of the league. And he didn't do it by chucking up bad shots either. He shot 51.5% from the field in his rookie season, which is remarkable for a guard who created most of his looks off the dribble. His second season, though shortened, saw his player efficiency rating rise even higher to 27.5. That's usually a sign of increased all-around impact and advanced efficiency. But his raw shooting numbers actually dipped. His field goal percentage dropped to 45.7, down nearly 6 percentage points from year 1. That kind of drop typically suggests more contested shots or a different offensive workload, but the player efficiency rating rise shows he was still generating high value on the floor. It could have been his defensive activity or the volume of free throws balancing the dip, but the shooting drop is there either way. Now look at Wemby. His rookie year wasn't as statistically explosive, but his efficiency metrics showed growth potential. He shot 46.5% from the field in year 1, not eye-popping, but solid for a player adjusting to NBA speed, spacing, and physicality, especially considering his size, perimeter attempts, and shot difficulty. That number didn't raise red flags. There was room to improve, and in year 2, he started closing the gap. Wemby's field goal percentage improved to 47.6 in year 2, a full percentage point higher. It's not a massive jump, but it's progress. And that improvement came with more minutes and more usage, which makes it more impressive. He didn't just get better in a vacuum, he got better while doing more. Even more telling was his effective field goal percentage. In year 2, that number reached 55.9%. For reference, effective field goal percentage adjusts for the added value of 3-point shots. So for a player like Wemby, who shoots from all over the floor, that stat helps explain his full offensive value. 55.9 isn't just good, it's efficient by league standards for high usage bigs with range. That means his shot profile was getting sharper, and his decision-making was improving. Jordan didn't have effective field goal percentage or true shooting percentages tracked widely in his first 2 seasons, but based on volume and shot types, his rookie season likely ranks near the top for guards in terms of early career efficiency. The 51.5 field goal percentage wasn't padded with easy dunks or transition floaters. He attacked the rim, lived in the mid-range, and got to the line. The second year drop to 45.7 is notable, but again, his overall player efficiency rating still went up, which means his total impact didn't shrink. Wemby's efficiency path is more gradual, but the direction is clear. He's getting better with every year. The field goal percentage is climbing, the effective field goal percentage is already strong, and his shot selection is more refined. He doesn't need 30 shots to get 30 points. He finds his spots, and he's becoming smarter about when to take over and when to pass. Even with a growing role and defensive attention, his numbers kept climbing. Jordan's player efficiency rating numbers, especially 27.5 in year 2, still set a high bar. Player efficiency rating is weighted to reward high-scoring, high-efficiency play with rebounds, assists, and steals factored in. So even when his raw shooting dipped, he remained an elite, all-around force. For Wemby, the player efficiency rating numbers weren't listed in the source, but based on the scoring bump, field goal increase, and consistent defensive contributions, his year 2 player efficiency rating likely rose too. That said, Jordan's early career player efficiency rating was elite, even by all-time standards. Wemby's is rising, but not at quite the same speed. What's interesting is that Wemby's efficiency feels more modern. The 3-point shooting, spacing, and effective field goal percentage advantage make his impact spread differently than Jordan's. Jordan dominated mid-range and paint areas, while Wemby stretches the defense out to the arc. That's why effective field goal percentage is such a useful stat for him. It rewards the full scope of his offensive game. So through 2 years, Jordan's efficiency profile started higher and stayed elite. Even with a field goal dip, Wemby started solid and got better in almost every category. Jordan's dominance came early and fast. Wemby's is building layer by layer with improved percentages and better shot value. Both paths are trending toward elite status, but with different strengths and different styles. Era differences. Jordan's first 2 seasons landed in a league that looked and felt entirely different from Wemby's. The 1980s were high speed, physically demanding, and full of isolation plays, mid-range shots, and bruising bigs. The average team in Jordan's rookie season, 1984 to 85, operated at a pace of around 241 possessions per 48 minutes. That's a lot of movement, a lot of shot attempts, and a lot of statistical opportunity. Teams averaged about 110 points per game, and in some cases, like the Denver Nuggets, well over 120. This era rewarded volume. Possessions piled up, and that inflated raw box score stat. Jordan's early scoring benefited from that flow. More trips up and down the court meant more chances to shoot, draw fouls, or rebound. Defenses were physical, but not built to defend the three-point line because it wasn't a central part of the game yet. Shooters barely used it. Most defenses focused on post-ups, pick and rolls with limited spacing, and mid-range isolation. Jordan thrived in that setup, slashing through crowded lanes, drawing contact, and pulling up from 15 feet. Wemby's first 2 years landed in a league obsessed with efficiency. The modern game still plays fast, but the pace has moderated. In his rookie season, the league average pace hovered around 105 possessions per game. That's a step down from Jordan's era. So Wemby's raw stats come from fewer overall possessions. What's changed is the way teams use those possessions. The current NBA places a premium on threes, layups, and free throws, the so-called efficient scoring zone. Wemby stepped into a league where spacing stretches the floor, where every big is expected to defend in space, and where three-point shooters stand in every corner. Modern defenses are built to handle this. Defensive schemes now switch constantly, rotate aggressively, and rely on long, mobile defenders who can cover multiple positions. That's what Wemby faces nightly. In contrast, Jordan attacked defenders who often stayed glued to their man, played hands-on without fear of foul calls, and collapsed toward the paint without needing to respect long-range threats. That means Jordan saw more double teams in tighter spaces. Wemby sees more space, but also more complexity. Defenders rotate faster, cover more ground, and contest more shots on the perimeter. Another huge difference is the role of analytics. In Jordan's time, stats were mostly for media and trivia. Game plans didn't involve spreadsheets. Today's NBA is dictated by data, shot charts, spacing maps, and efficiency models. Teams build strategies around where and how players score most efficiently. Wemby plays in a league that knows what shots to give up and what shots to chase away. That means defenses are smarter, and efficiency is harder to come by, even if spacing looks better. The three-point shot itself is a dividing line. Jordan played in an era where the three existed but wasn't used. Players took 1 or 2 a game. Whole teams barely shot them. Wemby plays in a league where teams put up 30 to 40 threes a night, and bigs are expected to shoot them, defend them, and contest them. That shift changes floor geometry, defensive priorities, and how centers are judged. Wemby doesn't just need to score. He needs to stretch the floor, protect the rim, and switch onto guards. Jordan never had to switch onto stretch fours or 5-out lineups. Then there's the star landscape. Jordan faced legendary names early: Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Moses Malone, Thomas, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. These were seasoned veterans, often paired with Hall of Fame teammates. In structured system, the rosters were top-heavy. Wemby came in during an era where depth rules. Almost every team has multiple elite athletes, international stars, and floor spacing threats. The average role player today is more versatile than many starters in the 1980s. But the flip side is that modern stars face deeper scouting, more film breakdown, and more precise defensive schemes built to contain them. In short, Jordan played in a faster-paced, higher possession environment with less floor spacing, more physicality, and more isolation-heavy offense. His numbers reflect that rhythm. Wemby plays in a system-driven, analytically optimized, slower-paced game that values efficiency and perimeter play. Each possession is more calculated, and every shot is judged by expected value. That's why direct stat comparisons can mislead. Jordan's scoring came in an open-flowing league where touches were frequent and isolation play thrived. Wemby's numbers are produced in a game built on spacing, reads, and rotations. Neither era is easier, just different. One favored raw volume, the other favors precision, durability. Jordan's rookie season in 1984 to 85 was flawless in terms of availability. He played all 82 games, logging heavy minutes and showing no signs of physical breakdown. That kind of full season endurance was impressive, especially for a rookie expected to carry a heavy load from day one. It set the tone for his reliability early in his career. However, his second season told a different story. In the third game of the 1985 to 86 season, Jordan fractured his left foot. The result was a 64-game absence, limiting him to just 18 appearances that year. It was a serious injury that sidelined him for most of the season and abruptly halted his momentum. That setback gave him one of the shortest seasons of his career. While he eventually returned for the playoffs and remained durable for many years afterward, the second-year injury was significant and unavoidable when evaluating early career durability. Wemby's rookie campaign in 2023 to 24 saw him play in 71 games. That level of availability is considered excellent for a first-year big man adjusting to the NBA's physical demand. He missed a few games for rest and minor management, but there were no major health concerns, and his body held up well across a demanding schedule. His second year, however, was more complicated. In 2024 to 25, Wemby played in 46 games before a medical condition, deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder, forced the Spurs to shut him down for the remainder of the season. The condition was serious and unrelated to wear and tear or contact injury. It was a vascular issue, not something seen frequently in players his age or position. As a result, his availability dropped off dramatically in the second half of the year, cutting short what had been another productive season. So both players entered the league with strong first-year availability. Jordan perfect, Wemby very close, but both also suffered major second-year disruption. Jordan's came from a broken bone, Wemby's from a medical diagnosis. Jordan played 18 games in year 2, Wemby played 46. In both cases, the second season forced their teams to take a long-term approach. Neither player showed durability concerns in their first seasons, but their second-year situations put early dents in their availability records. Cultural influence. Jordan's rookie season in 1984 to 85 marked the beginning of one of the most impactful athlete brand stories in sports history. He signed a 5-year endorsement deal with Nike worth $2.5 million, which was the largest rookie deal in league history at the time. That agreement led to the creation of the Air Jordan 1 sneaker in 1985, instantly making him a central figure in sneaker and fashion culture. The NBA's objection to the black and red colorway, later branded as the banned sneaker, only added to the mystique. Nike capitalized on the controversy in marketing, and the shoes quickly became iconic. Jordan's influence extended beyond sneakers. His athleticism and charisma drew attention early, landing him on the cover of Sports Illustrated, with the headline, "A Star is Born," in just his rookie year. His style, confidence, and swagger started shaping youth culture in the United States long before he became a champion. His presence off the court was just as significant as his play on it, and by the end of his second season, the foundation of a global marketing empire was already forming. Wemby entered the league 40 years later in a completely different media landscape. In 2023 to 24, he became the unanimous Rookie of the Year and a sensation both in the United States and globally. As a 7'4" French prodigy with a guard's skill set, Wemby captured immediate international attention. His arrival boosted NBA visibility in France and Europe, with media coverage and fan interest expanding rapidly. His early endorsement deals included a Nike partnership highlighted by a player-exclusive version of the Nike GT Hustle 2 Alien Edition, designed around his unique frame and style. Wemby also sparked conversations about modern superstar behavior. In interviews, he commented on work ethic and culture among top players, which led to wider media discussion. His image combined humility, international appeal, and generational talent. In only 2 years, he became a global figure and marketing target, with social media playing a large role in spreading his highlights and personality. While Jordan redefined the sneaker and endorsement landscape in the United States, Wemby became a global symbol of the NBA's next chapter. Both players transcended their stat sheets early, turning cultural heads through branding, influence, and the power of presence in completely different eras. 2010, right out the gate, there were 83 international players on opening night rosters. That tied the record from 3 seasons earlier. 63 former G League players made it onto official rosters, which was the most ever at that point. The league was slowly becoming more of a global patchwork and more open to developmental talent. Kevin Durant had his breakout year, leading all scorers with just over 30 points per game. That was his first scoring title, and he did it as the youngest scoring champ ever. Steve Nash ran the show for Phoenix, handing out 11 assists per night like it was still 2005. Dwight Howard took control of the glass, pulling in over 13 rebounds a game and swatting nearly 3 shots per night. He also led the league in field goal percentage, clearing 61%. Rajon Rondo wasn't too far behind in making noise on the defensive end, leading everyone with over 2 steals per game. Phoenix came in as the league's offensive fireworks crew, averaging 110 points per game. On the other side, Charlotte locked things down, holding teams under 94. The Cleveland Cavaliers finished with the best regular season record at 61-21, but Orlando had the best point differential, outscoring opponents by 614 across the season. Meanwhile, the New Jersey Nets made history no one asked for, losing 70 games and becoming just the 5th team ever to do that. Minnesota wasn't far behind in misery, finishing 15-67 and somehow posting an even worse point differential. In the Western Conference, it was tight. All 8 playoff teams hit the 50-win mark, with just 7 wins separating the 1st and 8th seeds. The Lakers topped the conference with 57 wins, but the Thunder, in the 8th spot, weren't far off with 50. That kind of balance made the West a minefield. The East wasn't as stacked, but Boston made noise in the playoffs, taking out Cleveland and then Orlando, both in 6 games. The finals brought one of the most memorable battles of the decade. The Lakers and Celtics went to 7 games, and it was ugly in the best way. Los Angeles pulled it off, 83-79, and Kobe Bryant grabbed his 5th ring and another Finals MVP. He averaged nearly 29 points and 8 rebounds in the series. Ron Artest hit one of the biggest shots of his life in Game 7, and Bryant made sure to remind everyone it was just one more than Shaq. LeBron James got the regular season MVP again with nearly 30 points, over 7 boards, and almost 9 assists per game. Tyreke Evans was the Rookie of the Year, joining an exclusive club by putting up at least 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. Dwight Howard was named Defensive Player of the Year. Jamal Crawford won 6th Man, and Aaron Brooks took Most Improved. Scott Brooks won Coach of the Year after leading the Thunder's turnaround, and D. Wade snagged All-Star MVP. The draft brought in future stars like Steph Curry, James Harden, and DeMar, but Blake Griffin, the top pick, missed the whole season. The Hall of Fame welcomed legends like Michael Jordan, John Stockton, David Robinson, and Jerry Sloan. Then there was the Gilbert Arenas gun mess, which got him and Javaris Crittenton suspended. There was also a referee lockout at the start, and the Nets got bought by Mikhail Prokhorov, laying the groundwork for their Brooklyn move. Steve Nash casually hit over 93% of his free throws. The Suns led in 3-point shooting and assists, and the All-Star game set an attendance record with over 108,000 people. Oh, and Ben Gordon scored the 10 millionth point in regular season history. So yeah, kind of a big year. 2011, the season opened with 30 teams again, but everything felt different. Derrick Rose turned into a full-blown superstar, dragging Chicago to the league's best record at 62-20. At just 22, he became the youngest, most valuable player ever, averaging 25 points and nearly 8 assists a game. The Cavaliers, after LeBron James's exit, fell straight into the abyss, finishing with only 19 wins. Their point differential was a stunning -739, the worst in the league. Meanwhile, Miami brought together their flashy trio of LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh. After a clunky 9-8 start, they ended up 58-24. They led the league in point differential at +612. The fanfare was loud, the expectations louder, and every game felt like a spectacle. On the flip side, Denver was the top scoring team at just over 107 points per game. Boston had the stingiest defense, holding opponents to 91 a night. Blake Griffin finally got on the court and didn't waste a second. He averaged over 22 points and 12 rebounds per game, and his dunks became a nightly highlight reel. Not just flashy, he was effective and dominant. He earned Rookie of the Year without any real debate. John Wall had a solid debut too, putting up over 16 points, 8 assists, and nearly 2 steals per game for Washington. Kevin Durant led all scorers again, this time at just under 28 a night. Kevin Love was an absolute machine on the boards, pulling in over 15 per game. Steve Nash, at 37, still dished out over 11 assists a night like it was nothing. Andrew Bogut led in blocks at 2.5 per game, doing his best to anchor Milwaukee's defense. The playoffs were chaos in the best way. Miami steamrolled through the East, taking out Philadelphia, Boston, and then top-seeded Chicago, all in 5 games each. That Bulls team had the MVP, the Coach of the Year in Thibs, and the best record, but Miami's pressure completely shut them down. Out west, Dallas became the story. They went 57-25 in the regular season, then destroyed the Lakers in the second round with a 4-game sweep. That ended Phil Jackson's coaching career. Dirk Nowitzki caught fire, averaging over 32 points in the conference finals against Oklahoma City and shooting 55% from deep. Memphis, as an 8 seed, pulled off the rarest upset by knocking out the Spurs, who had 61 wins. The finals saw the Mavericks take on the Heat, and Dallas handled their business. They beat Miami 4-2. Dirk averaged 26 points and almost 10 rebounds, finally getting his title and shaking off all the playoff scars. LeBron, though, had a rough series. His scoring dipped to under 18 per game, and he caught all kinds of criticism for disappearing in key moments. Dallas' comeback in Game 2, overcoming a 15-point deficit in under 8 minutes, was the moment everything shifted. Lamar Odom won 6th man with solid numbers. Kevin Love took most improved. Dwight Howard won Defensive Player of the Year for the 3rd straight time. Kobe Bryant dropped 37 in the All-Star game and took that MVP. Thibs won Coach of the Year in his debut season. Off the court, Jerry Sloan resigned mid-season after over 2 decades with Utah. There were logo changes from Cleveland, Golden State, the Clippers, and Utah. And Kevin Love had the first 30-point, 30-rebound game since the early 80s. Dirk got his ring. Miami's Big Three got a hard lesson, and the league got a season worth remembering. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, 2012. Everything started late because of the lockout, which stretched 161 days and shut down all preseason games. That gave us a 66-game sprint starting on Christmas. Fewer games meant less margin for error, and some teams clearly weren't ready. The Bulls still managed to grab the top seed at 50-16, but Miami was right behind them and locked in when it counted. LeBron James put together one of the most complete seasons ever. He won Most Valuable Player for the 3rd time, topping the league in efficiency, win shares, box plus minus, and value over replacement player. He also finally got the ring everyone said he needed. Miami ran through the East, then beat Oklahoma City in the finals, 4-1. James averaged 28 points, 10 rebounds, and over 7 assists per game in the series, and was named Finals MVP. After all the drama the year before, he finally closed the deal. The Thunder reached the finals, thanks to their young core. Kevin Durant led the league with 28 points per game, and James Harden won 6th Man of the Year. Russell Westbrook made the All-NBA second team, and Serge Ibaka swatted a ridiculous 3.6 blocks per game. That squad had the talent, but they ran into a Heat team that figured everything out at the right time. Chicago's run came to a sudden stop when Derrick Rose tore his ACL in Game 1 of their first-round series. The top-seeded Bulls were bounced by the 8th-seeded Sixers in 6 games. That injury changed the entire trajectory of the playoffs, and honestly, Rose's career. It was a gut punch in every sense. Kyrie won Rookie of the Year with over 18 points per game and helped give Cleveland fans something to cheer about again. The all-rookie first team was loaded too. Klay Thompson, Ricky Rubio, Kenneth Faried, and Kawhi Leonard all made the cut. Looking back, that class ended up shaping the next decade. Dwight Howard led the league in rebounds with 14.5 and made the All-NBA first team. Rajon Rondo led everyone in assists at nearly 12 per game. And Chris Paul topped the league in steals with over 2.5. Tyson Chandler anchored the Knicks' defense and won Defensive Player of the Year, while also leading the league in field goal percentage at just under 68%. Kevin Love had a monster season and was rewarded with second-team honors and Most Improved Player. He even dropped a 31-point, 31-rebound game against New York in November, something no one had done since Moses Malone. Ryan Anderson made a leap too, helping Orlando stay competitive with his shooting. Brandon Roy retired due to his knees, which was brutal. The league also said goodbye to the New Jersey version of the Nets, who were set to move to Brooklyn next season. And Charlotte, well, they set a record nobody wanted by finishing with the worst win percentage ever at 7-59. That's a 10% mark. Yes, worse than those Sixers teams. David Stern made waves again by vetoing a Chris Paul trade to the Lakers, citing basketball reasons, which set off a wave of conspiracy theories and frustration. The Clippers ended up getting Paul instead and changed their future entirely. The Spurs quietly went 60-16, but their playoff run was cut short in the conference finals by the Thunder. The arenas got facelifts too. Indiana's was renamed to Bankers Life Fieldhouse, and Oklahoma City's became Chesapeake Energy Arena. And just like that, the league transitioned from chaos to dominance in less than 6 months. 2013, the season started with the Brooklyn Nets making their debut and ended with Miami repeating as champions. They won 66 games in the regular season, the best record in the league, and strung together a 27-game win streak, the second longest in NBA history. That run got snapped by Chicago in late March, but the message was already clear. They weren't messing around. LeBron James took home his fourth most valuable player trophy. He averaged 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists per game, while shooting over 56% from the field. He also dominated the advanced metrics again, leading in efficiency and impact across the board. Miami powered through the East and reached the finals for the third straight time. The finals matchup was a classic. San Antonio pushed the series to 7 games behind strong performances from Tim Duncan and Tony Parker. But Miami pulled it out in the end. Ray Allen hit a legendary corner 3 in Game 6 to keep the series alive. LeBron followed with 37 points in Game 7 and secured his second Finals MVP. Out west, San Antonio looked like a well-oiled machine. They weren't flashy, just consistent. Duncan, Parker, and Manu kept them steady, and they nearly took the title. Golden State emerged as a real threat too, returning to the playoffs behind the rise of Steph Curry. He set the all-time single-season record for three-pointers with 272 and became must-watch TV. The Oklahoma City Thunder made a huge decision before the season even started, trading James Harden to Houston. That move shifted everything. Harden exploded with the Rockets, while Oklahoma City lost a major piece of their finals core. Kevin Durant still had a strong year, but they never quite felt the same. Carmelo Anthony led the league in scoring with nearly 29 points per game, helping the Knicks earn the second seed in the East. J.R. Smith came off the bench firing and won 6th Man of the Year. They looked like contenders again, at least for a moment. Damian Lillard won Rookie of the Year, averaging nearly 20 points and dishing out 6 assists per game. He started every game for Portland and didn't look like a rookie doing it. Paul George took a huge leap in Indiana and grabbed Most Improved Player. He also made the All-NBA third team and helped the Pacers push Miami to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals. Marc Gasol anchored Memphis's defense and won Defensive Player of the Year. He helped them reach the Western Conference Finals for the first time ever. George Karl coached Denver to 57 wins and won Coach of the Year. And Masai Ujiri, who built that team, was named Executive of the Year. Rajon Rondo led the league in assists at just over 11 per game, even though he missed the last part of the season. Chris Paul topped the steals chart again. Serge Ibaka swatted 3 blocks a night, and DeAndre Jordan shot 64% from the field. Jose Calderone led in free throw shooting, and Kyle Korver was lethal from deep at nearly 46%. The Lakers had a nightmare year. Dwight Howard and Steve Nash didn't mesh. Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles in April, and they got bounced in the first round. Brandon Roy stayed retired, and Jerry Buss passed away, marking the end of an era in Los Angeles. It was a season packed with emotion, change, and moments that would echo for years. 2014, San Antonio was still mad about the way things ended the year before, and they took it out on the entire league. They finished with 62 wins, then ran through the playoffs and smoked Miami in the finals, 4-1. That made it 5 titles for the Spurs. And Kawhi Leonard, at just 22, walked away with Finals MVP. The series wasn't close. San Antonio's ball movement and depth just dismantled everything in their path. Kevin Durant finally won Most Valuable Player. He averaged 32 points, nearly 8 rebounds, and over 5 assists. He gave a now-famous speech, dropped 60 in a game, and led the Thunder to 59 wins. LeBron James was still elite, but this was Durant's regular season. The Heat still got back to the finals for the 4th year in a row, but that whole not 5, not 6 thing was starting to feel distant. Joakim Noah did everything for Chicago and took home Defensive Player of the Year. He ran the offense, protected the paint, and kept the Bulls relevant even without Derrick Rose. Michael Carter-Williams won Rookie of the Year for the Sixers, who were mostly known for losing 26 straight games and chasing lottery balls. Goran Dragic took Most Improved for helping the Suns overachieve. Though Phoenix still missed the playoffs, despite winning 48 games, Chris Paul led the league in assists and steals again, with DeAndre Jordan cleaning the glass and shooting nearly 68%. Anthony Davis blocked almost 3 shots per game. Kyle Korver hit a 3 in 127 straight games, setting a new league record. He also led the league in three-point percentage at nearly 47%. Steph Curry was right behind him, hitting 261 threes and leading the league in free throw percentage at almost 89%. The playoffs were chaos in the best way. The first round had 5 series go to 7 games. The Spurs barely escaped the Mavericks in the opening round, while the Warriors and Clippers traded blows in a heated 7-game series. The Heat had an easier path, cruising past Charlotte and Brooklyn before taking down Indiana in 6. Then they ran into the Spurs again, and it was over fast. San Antonio's offense was ridiculous, and the games weren't close. Carmelo Anthony had a monster scoring night, dropping 62 on Charlotte. LeBron answered with 61 later that season, also against the Bobcats. Russell Westbrook put up a triple-double in just over 20 minutes, the fastest one since the 50s. David Stern retired on February 1st, ending a 30-year run as commissioner. Adam Silver stepped in and was immediately thrown into the fire. Just months later, Donald Sterling got banned for life after recordings of racist remarks surfaced. That shook the league and led to a forced sale of the Clippers. Phil Jackson returned to New York, but not on the bench. He took over as president of basketball operations. The Knicks, Celtics, and Lakers all missed the playoffs for the first time ever in the same season. Charlotte made the playoffs for just the second time in franchise history and prepared to return to being the Hornets. And with all that, the Spurs reminded everyone how a team built on discipline, movement, and actual passing could still win it all. No drama, just results. 2015, the Golden State Warriors didn't just arrive, they took over. Behind first-year head coach Steve Kerr and an offense that broke all kinds of brains, they won 67 games and stormed through the playoffs to win their first title since 1975. Steph Curry was unstoppable and earned his first Most Valuable Player award, averaging 23 points and over 7 assists, while hitting shots that made defenders question their life choices. In the finals, Golden State took out Cleveland in 6 games. Andre Iguodala came off the bench to start midway through the series and was named Finals MVP for his work guarding LeBron James. James still put up ridiculous numbers, but with Kyrie and Kevin Love out due to injuries, it wasn't enough. Golden State had the depth, the shooting, and the momentum. Russell Westbrook led the league in scoring at over 28 points per game, even with a mask on for part of the year. DeAndre Jordan pulled down 15 rebounds a night and shot 71% from the field. Chris Paul handed out just over 10 assists per game and continued his usual dominance on both ends. Kawhi Leonard won Defensive Player of the Year, locking up wings and poking away steals at over 2 per game. Klay Thompson dropped 37 points in a single quarter against Sacramento. Not a game, a quarter. He didn't miss a single shot. That game alone made sure his spot on the All-NBA third team was locked. Curry led the league in free throw percentage, while Kyle Korver somehow shot almost 50% from deep across the season. LeBron James returned to Cleveland and dragged a new-look Cavaliers team to the finals. The franchise also added Kevin Love in a blockbuster trade, but injuries decimated their rotation. Still, they pushed Golden State to 6 games and gave fans a preview of battles to come. Atlanta had their best season ever. They went 17-0 in January, and their entire starting 5 was named Eastern Conference Player of the Month. Mike Budenholzer won Coach of the Year, and the Hawks made the conference finals after finishing with 60 wins. Bob Myers took Executive of the Year for building the Warriors monster. Andrew Wiggins won Rookie of the Year for Minnesota, while Lou Williams took 6th man after providing instant offense for Toronto. Jimmy Butler stepped up in a big way and grabbed Most Improved, averaging over 20 points per game while playing elite defense for Chicago. The Rockets had their moment too, coming back from a 3-1 deficit against the Clippers in the second round. James Harden earned first-team All-NBA honors, and Dwight Howard held down the paint, but Golden State was just on another level. Dirk Nowitzki passed Hakeem to become the highest-scoring foreign-born player in league history. Kobe Bryant passed Michael Jordan on the all-time scoring list before his season ended early due to another injury, and somehow, both the Knicks and Lakers managed to lose over 60 games in the same season, a first for either franchise. It was a year of dominance, comebacks, milestones, and the official start of the Warriors dynasty. They didn't just win, they changed everything. 2016, Golden State didn't just run the table, they shattered it. The Warriors went 73-9, topping the Bulls' legendary 72-win season and setting a new standard for regular season dominance. Steph Curry led the charge and became the first unanimous Most Valuable Player ever, averaging just over 30 points while hitting 402 threes. He also led the league in steals and hit over 90% of his free throws. But none of that stopped Cleveland from flipping the script. The Cavaliers came back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals, the first time that had ever happened, and snatched the title in Game 7. LeBron James was everywhere. He led both teams in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. That chase down block in the final minutes was seared into basketball memory. Kyrie iced it with a 3 right in Curry's face. Andre Drummond dominated the glass, pulling down nearly 15 boards a night. Rajon Rondo led everyone in assists, dishing out almost 12 per game. Hassan Whiteside swatted away nearly 4 shots every night, while DeAndre Jordan shot over 70% from the field. Redick led in three-point percentage at almost 48, and Curry once again topped the free throw charts. Kawhi Leonard won Defensive Player of the Year again. He kept locking down opposing stars while scoring efficiently and quietly, dragging San Antonio to 67 wins. The Spurs also went 40 and won at home. Steve Kerr took Coach of the Year, but it was Luke Walton who led Golden State to most of those early wins, while Kerr recovered from back surgery. Karl Anthony Towns won Rookie of the Year with ease, averaging 18 and 10 and flashing skills up way beyond his years. McCollum took Most Improved after jumping from a bench guy to a full-time starter and scoring over 20 per game. Jamal Crawford won Sixth Man of the Year again, still breaking ankles off the bench. Kobe Bryant played his final season, and on the last night of the regular season, he dropped 60 points against Utah. The same night, Golden State got win number 73. It was one of the most surreal closing nights in league history. Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett also retired that year, signaling the true end of an era. The playoffs had drama from the jump. Portland, who wasn't supposed to do much after losing most of its starters, made it to the second round. Toronto reached the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time ever, riding DeMar and Kyle Lowry past the Pacers and Heat. Miami made it that far without Chris Bosh, who was sidelined again due to health concerns. And in the West, Oklahoma City almost ended Golden State's run early. They went up 3-1 in the conference finals, but then Curry and Klay Thompson went nuclear. Thompson dropped 11 threes in Game 6 to bring them back from the brink, and the Warriors took Game 7 to move on. Then the finals flipped everything upside down. Draymond Green got suspended for Game 5. Andrew Bogut got hurt. LeBron and Kyrie exploded for 41 each in Game 5. The rest was history. Cleveland's first title. LeBron's promise delivered. A 73-win team, beaten. A block, a shot, a comeback that broke logic. And just like that, one of the most unforgettable seasons ever had its perfect ending. 2017, Golden State took things personally. After blowing a 3-1 lead the year before, they added Kevin Durant and turned into a cheat code. They finished 67-15 in the regular season, then steamrolled through the playoffs with a 16-1 record. That's the best postseason mark in league history. Durant won Finals MVP, averaging 35 points per game and hitting clutch shots over LeBron James like it was nothing. The Cavaliers made their third straight finals trip too, but this time it felt different. Golden State had too much firepower. Still, LeBron put up absurd numbers and became the first player ever to average a triple-double in the final. Cleveland lit up in Game 4 with 49 points in the first quarter and 86 in the first half, both finals records. But the Warriors didn't blink. Russell Westbrook took home Most Valuable Player after one of the wildest individual seasons ever. He averaged 31 points, 10 rebounds, and over 11 assists per game, and broke the single-season triple-double record with 42. He became the second player in league history to average a triple-double for a full season, joining Oscar Robertson. He also led the league in efficiency rating. James Harden led the league in assists and turned Houston into a juggernaut under new coach Mike D'Antoni. The Rockets won 55 games, launched threes like they were layups, and Eric Gordon won Sixth Man of the Year. Giannis won Most Improved after evolving into a matchup nightmare and dragging Milwaukee to the playoff. Draymond Green won Defensive Player of the Year, leading the league in steals and anchoring Golden State's defense. Rudy Gobert blocked nearly 3 shots a night for Utah. Hassan Whiteside grabbed over 14 rebounds per game, and DeAndre Jordan finished first in field goal percentage at over 71%. McCollum led all players in free throw percentage, and Kyle Korver again topped the league in three-point shooting. Malcolm Brogdon won Rookie of the Year in a weak class, but played solid, efficient basketball for Milwaukee. Dirk Nowitzki became just the 6th player in history to reach 30,000 points. Devin Booker had a ridiculous 70-point game against Boston, the youngest ever to hit that mark. The All-Star game had its own chaos. Anthony Davis scored 52 points and won MVP in front of his home crowd in New Orleans. The game was moved there after the league pulled it from Charlotte due to controversy around local legislation. LeBron passed Michael Jordan in all-time playoff points and kept stacking records. San Antonio won 61 games, quietly doing what they always do, and extended their streak to 20 straight winning seasons. They also swept Memphis and Houston in the playoffs before falling to Golden State in the conference finals. The Warriors started that postseason 15-0 before Cleveland finally stole one in Game 4 of the finals. The league shifted dramatically that year. Durant joining a 73-win team turned the Warriors from elite to inevitable, Westbrook's rage-fueled stat machine season gave fans something to obsess over, while Houston's run-and-gun style changed the way teams approach spacing and shooting. The year was filled with milestones, scoring explosions, and playoff dominance. The finals weren't close, but the path there was wild. It felt like the balance of power had been permanently altered, and in a way, it had. Golden State wasn't just winning. They were redefining what dominance looked like. 2018. The Golden State Warriors weren't chasing a record this time. They were just chasing rings. They ended the season with 58 wins, a little more human than before, but still an absolute nightmare in the playoffs. They bulldozed their way through the West and then steamrolled Cleveland in the finals, sweeping them 4-0. Kevin Durant grabbed his second straight finals MVP, torching defenders and making the big moments look easy. LeBron James made it to the finals again, his 8th straight trip, dragging a flawed Cavaliers roster every step of the way. He led the entire league in playoff scoring and played every game like it was a one-man campaign for basketball survival. That J.R. Smith Game 1 blunder, that didn't help. James Harden finally got his Most Valuable Player award after leading the league in scoring with just over 30 points a night and pushing Houston to a franchise best 65 wins. They took Golden State to 7 games in the Western Conference Finals, but Chris Paul missed the last 2 games with a hamstring injury, and the Rockets missed 27 straight threes in Game 7. The math said shoot more, but reality said stop. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double again, but this time, nobody threw a parade. He led in assists, but the novelty was wearing off. Andre Drummond led in rebounds again, pulling down 16 a game. Victor Oladipo turned into a star with Indiana, won Most Improved, and led the league in steals. Anthony Davis blocked over 2.5 shots per game. Rudy Gobert won Defensive Player of the Year, and Clint Capella led the league in field goal percentage. Ben Simmons took Rookie of the Year in a race that annoyed everyone. Some people didn't think he should count as a rookie, but the voters didn't care. He helped lead the Sixers to their first playoff berth since 2012. Joel Embiid played real minutes, and the process finally looked like a team. Darren Collison quietly led the league in three-point shooting, and Steph Curry once again topped the free throw leaderboard at 92%. Lou Williams won Sixth Man of the Year for the second time, still doing that microwave scoring thing off the bench. McCollum was automatic from the line at over 91%. The Warriors, as usual, didn't have a player lead the league in anything, but they had everything else. Toronto won 59 games and finished first in the East, then got absolutely stomped by LeBron and company in the second round. That sweep ended the Raptors' run as constructed, and it cost Dwayne Casey his job, even after winning Coach of the Year. Boston made a deep playoff run without Kyrie or Gordon Hayward, both sidelined with injuries. Jason Tatum stepped up huge, dunked on LeBron in the conference finals, and nearly knocked out the Cavs. It took 7 games for Cleveland to survive that series. The All-Star Game had a new format. Instead of East versus West, captains picked teams like it was recess, and LeBron's squad beat Steph Curry's in a game that was actually competitive for once. Donovan Mitchell gave Utah a new identity, leading them to the second round as a rookie. The West stayed brutal, and the East kept shifting. But in the end, the Warriors still had Durant, Curry, Clay, and Draymond, and that was more than enough. Again, 2019, the dynasty cracked. After 5 straight trips to the finals, Golden State fell. Toronto took the crown in 6 games, and Kawhi Leonard walked off with Finals MVP after delivering one of the most dominant playoff runs in recent memory. The Raptors weren't a fluke. They were deep, relentless, and fearless. Pascal made the leap, Kyle Lowry came through, and the entire country of Canada got a parade. The finals weren't just about who won, they were about who went down. Kevin Durant tore his Achilles in Game 5. Klay Thompson tore his ACL in Game 6. The Warriors were already missing pieces, but those injuries ended any chance of a comeback. Just like that, the run was over. James Harden had another unreal scoring season, dropping over 36 a game and going on a 32-game streak of scoring at least 30. That's the second longest run in league history. He didn't win MVP though. That went to Giannis, who led Milwaukee to the best record in the league and stuffed the stat sheet on both ends. Mike Budenholzer took Coach of the Year, and John Horst won Executive after building a juggernaut around him. Paul George led the league in steals, while Miles Turner took the blocks crown. Rudy Gobert locked down the paint for Utah again and grabbed Defensive Player of the Year. Andre Drummond kept doing Andre Drummond things, leading in rebounds at over 15 a game. Westbrook led in assists and averaged another triple-double, but people had definitely stopped freaking out about it. Luka won Rookie of the Year for Dallas. He came in playing like a vet and put the league on notice immediately. Trae Young got most of the buzz in the second half, but it was Luka who kept piling up the numbers from day one. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid helped bring Philly back to relevance, and the Sixers came within a couple bounces of advancing, literally. That Kawhi Game 7 buzzer beater in Toronto will live forever. Victor Oladipo missed most of the season, but Indiana still pushed forward behind Miles Turner's defense and Bojan's shooting. Oladipo's breakout from the year before passed the torch to Pascal this time, who won Most Improved and turned into Toronto's second star. Steph Curry once again led in free throw percentage, and Joe Harris snuck in to top the league in three-point shooting. Clint Capella was the most efficient shooter from the field until Gobert passed him late in the year. Lou Williams won Sixth Man of the Year again, because of course he did. The Nets made it back to the playoffs for the first time since 2015. D'Angelo Russell led the charge and made his first All-Star game. Denver returned to form, finishing 54-28 and pushed Portland to the brink in the second round. Damian Lillard closed that series with a deep dagger that sent the Thunder home and waved them goodbye. Literally, LeBron James joined the Lakers, but things didn't go as planned. Injuries, chemistry issues, and front office chaos kept them out of the playoffs. Dirk Nowitzki and D. Wade both retired at the end of the season, closing the book on two legendary careers. And if that wasn't enough, the league rolled out new rules, like a 14-second shot clock reset on offensive rebounds and faster replays for hostile acts. The landscape shifted. A new champion was crowned, and for the first time in years, it felt like anything could happen at level 1. Just okay. Dennis Smith Jr. came into the league with top 10 pick expectations. He was the 9th overall pick in the 2017 draft, and Dallas saw him as a possible franchise guard. In college, at NC State, his stats were impressive. He averaged over 17 points, almost 10 assists, nearly 7 boards, and more than 2 steals. That should have been a red flag, honestly, because it screamed high usage, empty calorie numbers. He made the all-rookie team, sure, but that was the peak. After that, he bounced between teams like he was on a basketball road trip with no GPS. He never became the kind of starter you could rely on, let alone build around. Players like Donovan Mitchell went later in that draft, and yeah, that comparison doesn't help his case. Michael Beasley, 2nd overall in 2008. That's the kind of draft position where you expect a player to at least fake being a star for a couple seasons. But no, Beasley had the scoring talent, he really did. But his impact never came close to his hype. The guy averaged over 26 points in college and then delivered a totally fine 12 points per game across his NBA career. He played for more teams than a substitute teacher. Miami, Minnesota, Phoenix, Houston, New York, Los Angeles, and some international stops for good measure. He had a good rookie season and even made the all-rookie team, but the consistency was never there. And when you remember Russell Westbrook and Kevin Love went later in that same draft, it makes Beasley's status as just okay feel like a mercy. Dion Waiters, another lottery case of what could have been 4th pick in the 2012 draft. That was Cleveland trying to grab a dynamic scorer. And to be fair, Dion did have some stretches where he looked like he could cook. Problem was, his shot selection was basically roulette, and his defense was optional. He had some fun moments with the Heat and the Thunder, and even won a title with the Lakers. But it's not like he was leading the charge. After him came Damian Lillard. And yeah, if you're a Cavs fan, that fact probably still stings. Evan Turner was the 2nd overall pick in the 2010 draft. That means he got picked before DeMarcus Cousins, Gordon Hayward, and Paul George, which is like ordering a sandwich and getting a soggy napkin instead. At Ohio State, he looked like a can't-miss player. National Player of the Year, all the awards, all the hype. But in the NBA, he turned into a very average role player. He did a little bit of everything, but didn't do anything particularly well. He lasted over 700 games, which is something, but that's not what teams hope for when they use a 2nd overall pick. Cody Zeller was picked 4th in the 2013 draft, and you can almost hear the groans from Charlotte fans echoing through time. He had a respectable college run at Indiana, shot a ridiculous percentage, and looked like he could be a solid big. And that's exactly what he was. Solid. Not special, not exciting, just solid. He averaged about 8 points and 6 rebounds over his career and had a few seasons where he flirted with double-double territory. But again, when you're drafted that high, serviceable rotation guy just doesn't cut it. Chris Dunn was taken 5th in 2016, and his college resume was packed with awards. Big East Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. He came in like a defensive savior. But in the NBA, it was all too up and down. Injuries, role changes, switching teams. It never quite clicked. He showed flashes of defensive intensity and had a few decent runs, but he never cemented himself as a go-to point guard. Other picks from that draft surpassed him quickly, and it just added to the feeling that Dunn didn't quite reach the level he needed to. And then there's Cantor, picked third in 2011. That's the kind of pick you use for a big man who changes your interior game. Cantor did bring strong rebounding and scoring. In over 700 games, he put up over 11 points and nearly 8 rebounds per night. But his defense was a turnstile. Opponents saw him in the paint and just walked through like they had a key. He had moments of dominance on the boards, but he was never going to anchor a defense. And that limited his role across multiple teams. Picked after him were Tristan Thompson and Jonas Valanciunas, both of whom arguably brought more complete games to the league. All these guys had moments. They weren't disasters. They didn't vanish into the shadows of the G League or overseas by year 2. But when your name gets called that high in the draft, teams want more than flashes and box score fillers. They want impact. They want something memorable. Instead, they got just okay. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Level 2, Injury Busts. Markelle Fultz was the first overall pick in the 2017 draft, and things went sideways fast. He looked like a star at Washington, putting up big numbers and showing all the tools. But then before he could even get going in the NBA, his shoulder broke down. A strange scapular imbalance ruined his shot mechanics. And later, he was diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome. That's a rare nerve condition, and it completely wrecked his ability to shoot. The Sixers tried to fix it, but the damage was done. He missed major time, bounced to Orlando, and even tore his ACL in 2021. He had talent, no doubt, but his body betrayed him. When you see guys like Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell go later in that same draft, you start to understand why people shake their heads when Fultz's name comes up. Jabari Parker was supposed to be Milwaukee's next big star. He was the second pick in 2014, fresh off Antite. Impressive year at Duke. He got off to a good start, but tore his ACL just 25 games into his rookie season. Then, when it looked like he was finally turning the corner in 2017, he tore the same ACL again. After that, it was a mess. Knee issues, foot problems, shoulder tweaks, you name it. Before those injuries, he was putting up 20 points a game and looking like a legitimate scoring threat. After them, he just couldn't stay on the floor. Joel Embiid went one spot after him. And while Embiid had his own health battles, he became the superstar Parker never got the chance to be. Greg Oden was picked first overall in 2007. That's a big deal. You're expected to anchor a team for a decade. But Oden missed his entire rookie season with knee surgery, and that was just the beginning. He kept having surgeries, kept missing seasons, and basically played a few flashes between long rehab stints. His knees just couldn't handle the NBA grind. Meanwhile, the next pick was Kevin Durant, who turned into one of the best players ever. So yeah, the disappointment hit hard. Oden didn't fail because of effort or attitude. His body just gave up before he ever had a chance. Sam Bowie is one of the earliest examples of injury changing everything. Picked second in the legendary 1984 draft, Bowie went ahead of Michael Jordan. Let that sink in. And it's not like Portland was completely clueless. Bowie had shown real promise at Kentucky, but he already had a history of leg injuries in college, and the problems only got worse in the NBA. Multiple leg fractures, missed seasons, and constant pain meant he never became what they hoped. He put up decent stats when healthy, but when healthy, didn't happen often enough. Lonzo Ball went second overall in 2017. He had great instincts, vision, defense, and was a solid shooter after refining his form. But his knees have been the story. He had a meniscus tear, multiple procedures, and most recently, a cartilage transplant. That's the kind of surgery you usually hear about in medical journals, not NBA reports. The Lakers bet big on him, and injuries have made that pick look like a gamble that never cashed out. Nerlens Noel had top pick buzz coming out of Kentucky, but he tore his ACL before the draft. That caused him to slide to 6th in 2013, and he missed his first NBA season entirely. He was a solid shot blocker and defender, but he never developed into an offensive threat or high-minute anchor. That knee injury slowed his development, and by the time he got on the court, he just couldn't reach the ceiling people thought he had. Jay Williams had one season in the league after being picked second in 2002. He looked promising, smart passer, aggressive scorer, and the Bulls hoped he'd be their guy. Then came the motorcycle crash. No helmet, multiple leg injuries, and nerve damage. Just like that, his career was done. He never played another NBA game. That wasn't a slow fade, it was a full stop. Johnny Flynn looked solid his rookie year after going 6th in the 2009 draft. He averaged over 13 points, started most of the season, and looked like a long-term point guard. Then came hip surgery. After that, everything fell off a cliff. His scoring dropped, his mobility changed, and by year 3, he was already out of the league. He was picked right before Steph Curry. So yeah, that hurts. Injuries took away whatever chance he had to grow. Injuries don't care where you're drafted, how much hype you've got, or what your ceiling looks like on paper. This group shows exactly how fast potential can unravel when bodies just won't cooperate. From knees to shoulders to rare nerve conditions, each story feels like a career, stuck in a holding pattern that never cleared for takeoff. Level 3, backups. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was drafted 2nd overall in the 2012 draft, and he came in with expectations of being an elite two-way wing. He had athleticism, size, and a high motor coming out of Kentucky, but the offense never showed up. His jump shot was more of a science experiment, and teams eventually stopped bothering to guard him on the perimeter. He had a long stint with Charlotte, signed a big extension, but settled into more of a defensive role player than any sort of high-impact starter. The numbers never jumped off the page, under 9 points a game across his career, and the flashes of development just didn't materialize. That's not what you want from a 2nd overall pick. Derek Williams went 2nd overall in the 2011 draft, and if you blinked, you might have missed the hype. He was a standout at Arizona, a versatile forward who could stretch the floor, but in the NBA, he never carved out a real identity. Was he a power forward, a small forward, a bench scorer? He moved around the league, showed occasional scoring outbursts, but mostly lived in the rotation. He averaged under 9 points and 4 rebounds a game, which is fine for a mid-first rounder, not for a 2nd overall pick. Dante Exum was the mystery man from Australia, taken 5th overall in 2014 by Utah. People thought they were getting a do-it-all point guard with length and upside. What they got was a career full of injuries, role shifts, and questions. He played defense well at times, had a few good playoff stretches, but never became a starting caliber guard. His averages stayed low, his minutes stayed limited, and eventually he took his game overseas for stretches before coming back. He was useful, sure, but never close to what a top 5 pick should look like. Patrick Williams came into the league as the 4th overall pick in 2020. Chicago took a swing on upside, banking on his defensive tools and potential to grow offensively. But through his first few seasons, he's looked more like a quiet role player than a rising star. His scoring hovered around 10 points per game. He missed time with injuries, and his usage kept shrinking. When you're picked that high, the hope is you evolve into something more than a 4th option who might guard the other team's best wing. Instead, he's mostly become a placeholder starter who sometimes fades into the backcourt. Bismack went 7th overall in the 2011 draft and somehow stuck around the league for over a decade by doing exactly one thing well: defense. He blocked shots, rebounded, set screens, and didn't ask for the ball much. That's great. If you're picked in the 20s, for a top 7 pick, it's underwhelming. He had one big playoff run with Toronto that got him paid, but his offensive game stayed stuck at 0. Teams knew what they were getting, and what they were getting was limited. Bill McGill was the 1st overall pick way back in 1962, and let's just say it didn't go as planned. He was a scoring machine in college, but his pro career ended up being short and mostly forgettable. He bounced around between the NBA and ABA, averaged around 10 points, and never got close to being a franchise player. As a number 1 pick, that outcome lands him squarely in the backup tier. He had talent, but it never translated into long-term success. Zach Collins was drafted 10th in 2017 and started out with real promise. Portland traded up to get him, hoping he'd be their modern big. He had range, size, and some defensive pop, but then came the injuries. He missed a massive chunk of his early career, and even when he played, he rarely looked like more than a bench piece. His averages stayed modest, and although he's hung around, he never became the starter they imagined on draft night. Austin Rivers went 10th in the 2012 draft and brought a name with him. His dad was an NBA coach, and he had big moments in college, but in the league, he mostly bounced around, carving out a career as a bench scorer and energy guard. He had some good games here and there, but never made a leap. For a top 10 pick, his numbers were mild, around 8 points and 2 assists per game. Teams liked his confidence more than his consistency. Alex Len was picked 5th overall in the 2013 draft, and his path was clear: be a dominant center. Instead, he became a journeyman big man. He never developed into a high-level scorer, and while he had size, he was rarely the kind of anchor teams build around. His career averages hovered around 6 points and 5 rebounds, and he played for several teams who needed size, but not much else. He had staying power, but not much star power. These 9 picks settled into modest roles, with limited scoring, shrinking usage, and careers defined by rotation minutes instead of stardom. Level 4, hated in their city. Ben Simmons might be the face of this category. Drafted first overall in 2016, Philadelphia expected a generational playmaker, a franchise-altering talent. What they got was a defensive specialist who refused to shoot. His early years were solid. Rookie of the Year, multiple All-Star nods. But the tension built slowly. Then came the playoffs. In 2021, Game 7, Hawks, wide open dunk, and he passed. That moment lived rent-free in the heads of Sixers fans from that day forward. He followed it up by skipping out on the next season, citing mental health concerns while clashing with the team, sitting out games, and forcing a trade. Philadelphia fans don't forget, and they definitely don't forgive. Add in his refusal to expand his offensive game, and you get a complete breakdown of trust. For a number 1 pick, Simmons' lack of leadership, his exit drama, and his refusal to evolve sealed his spot as one of the most frustrating figures in Sixers history. He's not just a bust, he's a franchise memory no one wants. Chris Washburn was taken 3rd overall in 1986 by Golden State, and the word disaster doesn't even cover it. He played in just 72 games total. 72. That's not even a full season and a half. His production was non-existent. Just over 3 points and 2 rebounds per game. But it wasn't just his play. Washburn failed 3 drug tests and was banned for life from the league in 1989. This wasn't some sad tale of bad luck. It was complete implosion. Golden State fans had to watch their 3rd overall pick waste his opportunity, flame out spectacularly, and become a punchline in NBA history. There's no fondness, no redemption arc, just wasted potential and a permanent stain on the team's draft history. Josh Primo came into San Antonio as a surprise lottery pick. Taken 12th overall in 2021, the Spurs shocked everyone by reaching early for a player they thought had long-term upside. Instead, they got an off-court disaster. Primo was waived after just 54 games, following allegations of inappropriate conduct, including repeatedly exposing himself to a team therapist. He was later suspended by the NBA. Fans were stunned, not just by what happened, but by how quickly it all collapsed. San Antonio rarely gets involved in messy situations, and Primo's situation was a PR nightmare. His time with the team is now a source of embarrassment and frustration. There was no payoff, just scandal. Jahlil Okafor was picked 3rd overall in 2015, and from day one, he was supposed to be the scoring big man that anchored the Sixers' rebuild. And for a brief moment, it looked like that might happen. But things unraveled fast. He struggled defensively, clashed with coaches, and looked lost in modern NBA schemes. Then came the off-court issues. Getting caught in a street fight in Boston, reckless driving across the Benjamin Franklin Bridge, trying to use a fake ID at a local bar, it all stacked up. Philly fans expect toughness, accountability, and some level of growth. Instead, Okafor gave them empty stats and viral headlines. The Sixers suspended him, and the fan base gave up on him just as fast. He wasn't just a bad pick. He became another symbol of the team's failed rebuilding years. Killian Hayes is the Detroit project that never came together. Drafted 7th overall in 2020, he was supposed to be the Pistons' point guard of the future. Instead, he became a walking frustration. He shot under 40% from the field, couldn't score consistently, and constantly looked overwhelmed on offense. He dealt with early injuries, but even when healthy, his game never developed. Pistons fans became brutal. Reddit threads mocked him. Memes about his shooting floated around like confetti. Even when Detroit was losing big, the loudest groans often came when Hayes was on the floor. The team finally gave up and waived him, and there wasn't a tear shed in the city. He's not hated because he was a bad person. He's hated because he represented yet another bad decision, another painful rebuild misfire. All 5 of these players weren't just busts. They left behind anger, disappointment, and scars in the cities that drafted them, whether through off-court issues, lack of development, or flat-out quitting. They all became reminders of what could have been, and why fans will never forget. Level 5 ruined their team. Andrea Bargnani was supposed to change everything for Toronto. He was the 1st overall pick in 2006 and the first European ever taken at the top spot. The Raptors thought they were getting a mobile 7-footer who could stretch the floor and bring modern offense to their front court. Instead, they got one of the most frustrating players in franchise history. Bargnani did score around 14 points per game in his career, but he was a black hole on defense, barely rebounded, and consistently posted negative on-off numbers. Despite being 7 feet tall, he pulled down less than 5 rebounds per game. The Raptors doubled down by giving him a $50 million extension in 2009, That locked them into years of trying to build around a player who didn't anchor anything. While other teams in that draft picked players like LaMarcus Aldridge, Toronto was stuck with a player who never became more than a volume scorer with serious gaps. His lack of development and high usage pulled resources and opportunities away from players who could have helped the team evolve. He didn't just disappoint, he stalled the franchise's growth, cost them cap space, and forced them into a hard reset. Marvin Bagley was taken second overall by Sacramento in 2018, one spot ahead of Luka. That alone made the margin for error razor thin. Bagley showed flashes early on, with some decent scoring and rebounding as a rookie, but injuries hit hard and often. He never played more than 62 games in any season with the Kings, and his skill set didn't modernize. He couldn't protect the rim, couldn't consistently shoot from outside, and struggled with defense. Instead of adjusting, Sacramento kept trying to make it work. They extended him opportunities, playing time and investment that could have gone elsewhere. And while they were stuck waiting for Bagley to break out, Luka was becoming an MVP-level player. The pick became a symbol of missed opportunity, and the front office's commitment to him dragged the rebuild down. They weren't just wrong, they were locked into being wrong for years. By the time they moved on, the damage had already slowed their development, cost them credibility, and wasted crucial years of growth. Dragon Bender was a swing at upside. Phoenix drafted him 4th overall in 2016, expecting a skilled 7-footer who could dribble, shoot, and pass like a modern forward. But instead of a unicorn, they got a player who never averaged more than 6 points per game. His shooting was inconsistent, his defense was underwhelming, and his offensive instincts just didn't translate. For a top 4 pick, that's a huge problem. He played fewer than 200 games for the Suns, and they declined his 4th-year option. He never became a regular contributor, and by the time they moved on, the roster had already cycled through multiple failed lineups. Phoenix was in the middle of a long rebuild, and wasting a pick that high delayed everything. That selection could have been a long-term piece. Instead, it became a gap. Every year they spent trying to justify the pick was a year further from real progress. Nick Stauskas was supposed to bring shooting to Sacramento when they picked him 8th overall in 2014. He had been an All-American at Michigan, a big-time shooter with size, but it just never clicked. His shooting percentages never stabilized, and he couldn't create or defend at the level needed for his position. After 2 seasons, Sacramento moved on. But the problem wasn't just performance. It was that the Kings invested a top 10 pick in someone who never became more than a role player. That decision added to a string of misfires that left the roster spinning. Stauskas was part of a pattern where high picks gave no return, and the long-term consequence was stagnation. His name became just another item in a long list of missed chances. Thomas Robinson went 5th overall in 2012 to the Kings after a dominant season at Kansas. But in the NBA, he couldn't find a role. His motor was there, but his game never matured. In 3 seasons, he played for 5 teams. His stats hovered around 5 points and 5 rebounds per game. He had no shooting range, wasn't a consistent finisher, and didn't bring the defense needed to anchor a front court. Sacramento burned a top 5 pick and gave up quickly, but the damage stuck. Every bad draft call sets a team back, and this one was no exception. The Kings had other options, and instead they ended up moving a lottery pick for almost nothing. That kind of mistake hurts for years. All 5 of these picks weren't just bad, they actively set their teams back. They wasted prime draft capital, ate up salary cap, and kept their franchises stuck in rebuild mode. Whether it was through missed development, overinvestment, or opportunity cost, these players didn't just bust, they dragged their teams down with them. Level 6, historic bust. These are the guys who didn't just fall short of expectations, they fell off the map. Every one of them got drafted way too high, with teams hoping they'd become franchise stars. What they got instead? Some really rough stat lines, short careers, and years of regret. These aren't just regular disappointments, these are front office nightmares. Let's start with Adam Morrison. He got picked 3rd overall in 2006 by Charlotte. Coming out of Gonzaga, he was a scoring machine, leading the nation with over 28 points per game. So Charlotte figured they just picked up the next big thing. What they got instead was a player who never found his shot in the league, shooting just over 37% from the field. He averaged 7.5 points, 2.1 rebounds, and 1.4 assists per game. And then came the injury. Tearing his ACL right before year 3 basically erased any momentum he had. The biggest punch in the gut, though? Charlotte took Morrison 1 spot ahead of LaMarcus Aldridge. Imagine passing on a future all-star for a guy who peaked in college. Hasheem Thabeet? Even tougher to explain. Memphis drafted him 2nd overall in 2009. He was a defensive monster at UConn, and the Grizzlies thought they'd found their rim protector of the future. But in the NBA, he never figured things out. He put up just 2.2 points and 2.7 rebounds in barely over 10 minutes per game. Eventually, they even sent him down to the developmental league, making him the highest draft pick ever demoted at that time. And while Thabit was trying to stay on rosters, guys like James Harden and Steph Curry, who got picked right after, were lighting up the league. Brutal. Then there's Michael Olowokandi, the #1 overall pick in 1998. The Clippers drafted him hoping he'd be their long-term centerpiece. And look, his college stats looked solid, over 22 points and 11 boards a game. But the pros? Completely different story. Across 500 games, he averaged just over 8 points and under 7 rebounds. He dealt with injuries, especially knee problems, but even when healthy, he never became anything close to a dominant center. The Clippers passed on guys like Dirk Nowitzki and Paul Pierce for this pick, the kind of decision that keeps executives up at night. Next is LaRue Martin, first overall pick in 1972. That's right, #1. Portland thought they were getting a franchise-altering big man. Instead, they got a player who lasted just over 270 games in the league, averaging 5.3 points and 4.6 rebounds. The worst part, they could have had Bob McAdoo. Instead, they got a guy who was out of the league after 4 seasons. People still bring up Martin whenever draft busts come up, and that's saying something, considering how long ago it was. James Wiseman is the most recent name on this list. Golden State took him 2nd overall in 2020, right in the middle of trying to stay in contention. This means they had Steph Curry with LaMelo Ball. The potential was there for Wiseman, no doubt. He was a top high school prospect and had big expectations from the jump, but injuries came fast. First a torn meniscus, then a torn Achilles. And even when he played, he struggled to find rhythm or carve out a real role. Across 149 games, he averaged just over 9 points and 5.5 rebounds. For a #2 pick, that's not going to cut it, especially when there were other prospects available who've already turned into strong contributors. And then there's Nicolas Tskitishvili. Denver made him the 5th overall pick in 2002, hoping his size and shooting touch would translate. It didn't, at all. He averaged just 2.9 points per game, shot barely over 30% from the field, and played in only 172 games. He's one of those names that pops up in every worst draft pick list. Not just because he underperformed, but because Denver missed out on actual stars while gambling on a mystery pick. Tskitishvili is what happens when a team buys into potential without evidence. What all these guys have in common is the distance between expectation and reality. They weren't just average, they were out of place, out of sync, and out of the league way too fast. Their team spent top 5 picks hoping to change the future, but ended up stuck in the past, watching other franchises build around the stars they passed over. When you talk about historic busts, these are the names you bring up, because the mistakes were big, the opportunity cost was massive, and the results were unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. Level 7, all-time worst. These are the absolute bottom of the barrel, not just disappointing, historically disastrous. These are the picks that haunt general managers and live forever in every draft night horror montage. Teams didn't just get it wrong, they set their franchises back years. Let's start with Anthony Bennett, first overall pick in 2013. Cleveland was on the clock and stunned everybody by grabbing Bennett out of UNLV. He'd averaged around 16 points and 8 rebounds in college, and there was some intrigue around his athleticism and shooting touch. But as soon as he hit the NBA floor, it was clear something wasn't clicking. He looked completely lost his rookie year, putting up just over 4 points and 3 rebounds per game in barely 13 minutes. That set the tone. He played a total of 151 games across 4 forgettable seasons. No upward trend, no breakout, nothing. He finished with career averages of 4.4 points and 3.1 rebounds. That's not just bad for a #1 pick. It's almost unheard of. And let's not ignore what Cleveland passed up. Victor Oladipo went second and became a 2-time All-Star. But the real gut punch came at pick 15, Giannis, a 2-time MVP, finals champion, and one of the greatest talents of the modern era. Cleveland could have had him. Instead, they got one of the least productive top picks in league history. Bennett's name is now synonymous with front office whiffs. Every year around draft time, his pick comes up like clockwork. Now let's talk about Kwame Brown. Washington took him first overall in 2001. He made history by becoming the first high school player ever drafted with the top pick. And with Michael Jordan calling the shots for the Wizards, the spotlight was massive. Brown was supposed to be a dominant physical force. Coming out of Glenn Academy, he averaged around 20 points, 13 rebounds, and nearly 6 blocks. But when the games started counting, the numbers weren't even close. His rookie season, 4.5 points, and 3.5 boards per game. Over 12 seasons, he settled at career averages of 6.6 points and 5.5 rebounds. To be clear, he stayed in the league for over a decade, so it's not like he vanished, but that just made his underwhelming production more glaring. When you're picked number 1 overall and can't even crack double digits in points or rebounds, it's going to follow you forever. Washington passed on Tyson Chandler at number 2 and Powell at number 3. Both ended up with far better careers. And then later in the same class, Tony Parker and Joe Johnson. Washington didn't just swing and miss. They struck out while watching future All-Stars go elsewhere. But nobody, and I mean nobody, gets people's heads shaking like Darko Milicic. Taken second overall in the absolutely loaded 2003 draft by the Detroit Pistons, LeBron James went first. Then came Darko. That means Detroit picked him ahead of Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, and D. Wade. Let that sink in. That's 3 Hall of Fame careers, all passed over for a player who ended up averaging 6 points and 4.2 rebounds. Detroit saw potential. They wanted a big man to develop, while the core chased the title. And yeah, they did win it all in 2004, but Darko barely saw the floor. He didn't contribute to that run, and his development never took off. He bounced from team to team: Orlando, Memphis, New York, Minnesota, Boston, and never carved out a role. His best season? Around 8.8 points and 5 boards in Minnesota. For a second overall pick, that's nowhere near enough. The opportunity cost is almost impossible to overstate. Detroit could have had Carmelo scoring in bunches, Wade slashing through defenses, or Bosh anchoring the front court. Instead, they chose a project who never came close to panning out, and the fallout lasted years. Every time fans talk about the greatest draft classes of all time, the Pistons are the cautionary tale, right in the middle of it. What separates these 3 from other busts is how high they were picked and how little they delivered in return. This isn't about injuries or tragic circumstances. These guys got opportunities and just didn't live up to what their draft slot demanded. Number 1 and number 2 picks are supposed to be future all-stars, faces of franchises. These guys barely reached role player status, or never got close. Bennett had no clear skill that translated. Brown had all the tools physically, but couldn't turn them into results. Darko was a gamble that blew up right in the front office's face, and all 3 of them were taken ahead of players who became stars. That's what seals it. It's not just that they underperformed, it's that their teams missed on generational talent while investing in them. These are not just busts, they're time capsules of regret, picks that shaped franchise history in the worst way. When teams gamble at the top of the draft, the stakes are massive, and these 3, they remind everyone how quickly a bet can turn into a franchise-wide disaster. Victor Wembanyama, he's already putting up over 25 points and nearly 13 boards a night, and he's only in year 3. The Spurs aren't just rebuilding, they're building around him. His usage rate is wild, and his defense impact is basically unmatched. This guy's blocking everything, and his rebounding numbers sit near the top. The mid-range is getting more love from him too, as his 3-point attempts have dropped while his rim attacks and free throws keep going up. That blood clot situation last season was scary, but he's back now and cleared. Long term, he'll get that max deal after the rookie contract's done. They'll pay whatever it takes. If his current arc continues, he'll be averaging close to 30 points and 5 blocks within the next few seasons. He's only 21, so the ceiling? Nowhere near reached. He's still learning when to shoot, when to pass, and how to bully smaller defenders. Once the Spurs add more pieces around him, he'll be the anchor of a legit contender. And with how dominant he already is, that timeline's not far off. Everything points to him being one of the best two-way bigs of the next decade. LeBron James, he's playing in his 23rd NBA season right now, making history as the first ever to do it. After picking up a player option worth over $52 million, he locked in with the Lakers through this season. No extension was offered, which definitely says something about how they're thinking. At 41 years old, he's still putting up serious numbers. Last season, he averaged around 24 points, over 8 assists, and nearly 8 rebounds across 70 games. He started this year recovering from sciatica, but was cleared for contact. The team's shifting toward younger leadership, especially with Luka now in the mix. That changes LeBron's role, possibly limiting his minutes or turning him into more of a mentor. Retirement's on the table after this year, but if he plays well, a short extension or free agency move in 2026 could still happen. Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's averaging over 34 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists this season. and he's doing it with brutal efficiency. The Bucks locked him up with a 3-year extension back in 2023, so he's under contract through at least 2027 with a player option for 1 more. He's still just 30, and while physical decline is coming eventually, he hasn't shown it yet. His game remains built on strength, speed, and attacking the rim. The team around him, still evolving. They've added shooters and role players, but playoff results haven't matched his production. Trade rumors have picked up, and he's been open-minded about where he might finish his prime. That said, Milwaukee still sees him as their franchise anchor. If he stays healthy, expect him to dominate for at least another few years. Whether that's in Milwaukee or not, that's the part still up in the air. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Nikola Jokic, he's deep into his prime, still under that enormous 5-year deal through 2027 with a $62 million player option after that. He's holding off on an extension, and it's not random. Waiting could land him a 4-year deal worth nearly $300 million. He's already won 3 MVPs, and getting a 4th would push him into elite territory with the all-time greats. The Nuggets are still built entirely around him, and nothing's changed there. He said he wants to stay in Denver forever, and so far, his actions match that. He's still putting up massive numbers, and even dropped a 30-20-20 game last season, something no one else has done. At 30, he's still the best offensive engine in the league. As long as he stays healthy, these next few seasons will shape his legacy, his earnings, and where he stands in NBA history. Devin Booker, he's locked in with Phoenix through at least the 29-30 season after signing a 2-year extension worth around $145 million. That deal gave him the highest annual average extension in NBA history at the time. He's made it clear he wants to stay with the Suns, but not if they hit reset again. The team traded away Kevin Durant and didn't add a strong point guard, which leaves Booker as the primary creator without much relief. He's in his prime, and the pressure is on the front office to build the right roster around. The Suns still control his contract, but if they waste these years, trade rumors will only grow. Booker has influence in organizational moves, including coaching hires. He wants to win now, not later. If Phoenix stalls, they risk losing their most loyal and valuable piece, Cooper Flagg. He's just 18 and already the centerpiece of Dallas's next era after being taken first overall in the 2025 draft. The Mavericks traded Luka and picked up Anthony Davis, handing Flagg a veteran-loaded roster instead of a typical rookie rebuild. He's got Kyrie, Davis, and even Klay Thompson guiding him, which gives him a unique launch pad. Kyrie's mentoring him, calling out Flagg's ability to handle pressure, while Davis has made it clear the vets will shield him early. That means no rush. Dallas wants him to grow gradually and absorb as much as he can. This team's still chasing wins, so Flagg's development will happen inside a competitive, structured environment. His role will increase year by year, but they're not asking him to be the savior on day one. That mix of patience and pressure sets him up for a steady, long-term trajectory. Luka, he's now the face of the Lakers after being traded from Dallas in February 2025. The team followed that move with a 3-year, $165 million extension that keeps him in Los Angeles through at least the 2028 to 2029 season. The Lakers made it loud and clear. This is Luka's team now. At 26, he's entering his prime, and everything from roster decisions to marketing is being built around him. He's already a 5-time All-Star and a multiple-time All-NBA player, so the talent is not in question. The key now is roster support. They're not rebuilding, they're competing. If things align, Luka has the tools to lead deep playoff runs, but the Lakers' window with him is now, and wasting it would be a massive failure. Shea, he just led the league in scoring, won MVP, Finals MVP, and took the Thunder to a franchise-best 68 wins, all in the same season. At 27, he's smack in the middle of his prime and just signed a 4-year Supermax extension worth over $300 million. That locks him in through at least 2031. His averages last season, over 32 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds on nearly 52% shooting. That combo puts him in rare air historically. He's not just putting up numbers, he's doing it efficiently and leading a top team. The next step, sustaining it and winning deep in the playoffs. Championships will determine how high his legacy climbs, but he's on track for all-time guard conversations if he keeps this up. Right now, he's the face of Oklahoma City and one of the most dominant players in the league, Anthony Edwards. He's only 24 and already looks like the long-term face of the Timberwolves. Minnesota picked him first overall in 2020 and backed it up with a 5-year extension worth up to $260 million. He made the All-NBA second team in 2024, then led the league in three-pointers, made last season with 320, breaking franchise records along the way. His athleticism and highlight plays fuel his growing brand, and he's got a signature shoe deal already. He's the top scoring option, the main defensive presence, and the clear franchise cornerstone. The Wolves now have to build a serious contender around him. His next steps? Keep improving his all-around game and lead this team deep into the playoff. If Minnesota delivers on the roster side, Edwards has everything needed to be one of the league's marquee stars for years to come. Steph Curry, he's 37 and still producing at a high level, averaging 24.5 points and 6 assists last season. He followed that up with 22.6 points in the playoff. In July, he signed a 1-year extension worth over $62 million, keeping him with Golden State through the 2026 to 2027 season. Curry says he's taking things 2 years at a time, and that fits the team's current window. He remains the face of the franchise, and the Warriors are still building around his shooting, leadership, and presence. His minutes and usage may drop, but he's still elite. The Warriors need to support him with a deeper roster to stay competitive. With multiple championships and MVPs behind him, what's left is how he finishes. The franchise will define this next stretch by what they do with the time he's still on the floor. Jalen Brunson, he's locked in with the Knicks through at least 2028 after signing a 4-year, $156 million extension in July. That deal includes a player option, but by signing early, he passed on nearly $100 million more, choosing team flexibility over personal max money. He averaged 28.7 points, 6.7 assists, and made his first All-Star appearance last season. In August, the Knicks named him team captain, their 36th ever, making his leadership role official. He's now the franchise's top scorer, primary playmaker, and the player everything runs through. New York has built around him, and his deal aligns perfectly with his prime years. Brunson's unselfish contract and rising production give the Knicks a real foundation. Over the next 5 years, he's not just leading the team, he is the team. The Knicks finally have a face to build around their title, hopes around, and it's him, Donovan Mitchell. He signed a 3-year, $150.3 million extension with the Cavaliers in July, keeping him in Cleveland through at least 2027 with a player option for 2028. That deal locks him in during his prime, as he's now 29 and still playing at an elite level. Last season, he averaged 26.6 points and a career-high 6.1 assists, despite missing time with injury. He's a 5-time All-Star and the clear franchise anchor. The Cavs are building around him with Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, aiming to compete in the East now, not later. Mitchell took this extension despite earlier trade rumors signaling commitment. The player option gives him future flexibility too. If he maintains this level of production, these next 3 to 4 years will shape both his Cleveland legacy and his standing among elite guards in the league. Paolo Banchero, he's the face of the Magic and just locked in for 5 more years with a max extension worth up to $287 million. That deal includes a player option and ties him to Orlando through his prime. Last season, he averaged 25.9 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 4.8 assists. Clear signs he's already producing like a top-tier forward. Across his first 3 seasons, he's averaged over 22 points and contributed across the board. Orlando made him the #1 pick in 2022, and now he's their franchise cornerstone. The team has to build smart around him because his window and the franchise's future are fully linked. He's only 23, and his contract sets the tone for the Magic's long-term plan. If the roster improves and playoff success follows, Banchero could go from rising star to league-wide powerhouse. Thanks to DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring this video. Basketball's officially back, and every night feels like a highlight waiting to happen. If you love watching hoops, there's no better way to stay involved in the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook. Here's the offer. New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins. Paid in bonus bets, plus get 3 months of NBA League Pass no matter what. That means you're catching every dunk, clutch shot, and overtime thriller even if your first bet doesn't hit. Just sign up using promo code HOOPSEXPLAINED. Make that first $5 bet, and you're in. It's that easy. You'll get to watch games live and use your bonus bets on any upcoming matchups you want. DraftKings makes betting simple and exciting. You can go live mid-game, follow every score in real time, or build same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. And with League Pass included, you'll never miss the moments everyone's talking about the next day. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up using promo code HOOPSEXPLAINED, and start playing today. New customers bet $5 and get $300 if your bet wins. Plus 3 months of NBA League Pass no matter what. Kevin Durant. At 37, he's still putting up elite numbers. Over 26 points per game last season on more than 50% shooting. And now, he's locked into Houston with a 2-year, $90 million deal that includes a player option for 2028. The Rockets brought him in via a massive 7-team trade and extended him immediately, signaling that he's not just a short-term rental. He's the veteran centerpiece of a young, talented roster. In Houston, structured his deal below the max to keep flexibility. Durant continues to climb the all-time scoring list and is showing no signs of slowing down. This stage of his career is about legacy, mentoring, contending, and finishing strong. The Rockets give him a platform to do all three. If he stays healthy, he'll finish top 5 in career points and cement his place among the all-time greats, with a real shot at closing his career on his terms. Cade Cunningham. He just had a breakout year. 26.1 points, 9.1 assists, and 6.1 rebounds per game, earning his first All-Star selection and a spot on the All-NBA third team. That recognition triggered a bonus in his rookie max extension, reportedly pushing it to around $269 million. Detroit drafted him number 1 overall in 2021, and now, at just 24 years old, he's fully cemented as the Pistons' franchise cornerstone. His leap in both scoring and playmaking helped lead Detroit back to the playoffs, showing they're finally turning a corner. The front office has to keep building a roster that complements him. He can carry a lot, but not everything. If the Pistons deliver the right support, Cade's trajectory could put him in the conversation with the league's best guards over the next 5 years. Kawhi Leonard. He signed a 3-year extension with the Clippers in January of 2024, worth around $152 million, with a player option for the final season. That keeps him in Los Angeles through at least 2027, but health remains the biggest variable. Leonard is now 34 years old and has dealt with major knee issues, missing most of the 2024 season and being ruled out indefinitely to start 2025 with ongoing inflammation. When he's on the court, he's still elite. Two-way impact, efficient scoring, and big game poise. But the Clippers are clearly managing his role and minutes to preserve availability. The team is built around him, but his window as a primary star is narrowing. Kawhi's future is secure in the short term, but each season carries more weight now. Availability, adaptation, and team stability will determine how his legacy closes out. Jalen Williams, drafted 12th overall in 2022, he's quickly become a core piece for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And now, an NBA champion. He was instrumental in the Thunder's title run, including a 40-point performance in Game 5 of the Finals. At just 24 years old, Williams is entering his prime right as the Thunder's competitive window fully opens alongside Shea and Chet Holmgren. His rise from a mid-major college to a title-winning starter shows just how far his trajectory could go. Williams is positioned to be a major part of the Thunder's future, not just as a contributor, but potentially as a leader. Jaylen Brown. At 29 years old, he's in his prime and locked into a 5-year Supermax contract with the Boston Celtics worth up to $285.4 million, possibly over $300 million with incentives, running through at least the 2028 season. Despite some off-season trade interest around the league, Boston made it clear they are not looking to move him. With Jason Tatum sidelined for the season due to an Achilles injury, Brown steps into the clear leadership spotlight. He's a 4-time All-Star, an elite 2-way wing, and now the highest paid player on one of the league's most expensive rosters. The Celtics are counting on him to carry more scoring, playmaking, and leadership than ever before. Evan Mobley. The Cavaliers locked him in with a massive extension worth over $220 million, and he's already proving why. Mobley's numbers last season weren't just solid. They showed a leap: 18.5 points, over 9 boards, more than 3 assists, all on over 55% shooting. He's still only 24, and he's already the Defensive Player of the Year. That's not just big for him, it's historic for Cleveland. He's turned into the anchor of their defense, and his early season numbers suggest even more growth: 20 points, 9 rebounds, over 4 assists. The cap hit from his extension does mean the team has to be smart with roster depth, but with his ability to contribute on both ends, they've got something special. What matters most now is postseason success. The contract is big, the expectations are bigger. If Mobley keeps trending up and stays healthy, he could define this era of Cleveland basketball. No exaggeration, The pressure's real, and he's right in the middle of it. Amon Thompson. The Rockets spent the 4th pick in 2023 on Thompson, and by his second year, he had already earned all defensive first-team honors. That was rare air for someone who was only 22. In the 2025 season, he averaged over 14 points, 8 boards, nearly 4 assists, and made an impact with blocks and steals. He stood around 6 feet 7 inches and played both guard and forward, giving Houston tons of flexibility on the court. They picked up his 4th-year option, keeping him under contract through 2027. He wasn't just playing spot minutes. His role kept growing. The defense was real, and his awareness stood out. Offensively, he showed flashes, but still needed polish, especially with shooting and decision-making. Still, he gave them a cost-controlled piece to build with. If his scoring catches up to his defense, Houston might have something serious. Tyrese Halliburton. The Pacers gave him a 5-year deal worth up to $260 million, and by the end of the 2025 season, he made All-NBA 3rd team. He averaged around 18 points and over 9 assists while leading Indiana to the finals. But in Game 7, everything stopped. He tore his right Achilles tendon. That injury means he's missing the entire season. His cap hit stays massive at over $45 million, so the front office now has to tread carefully. Before the injury, his numbers showed high-level efficiency, elite playmaking, and very few mistakes. He's still only 25, but an Achilles tear always brings questions. Indiana's stuck navigating a crucial season without their cornerstone. If he returns strong in 2026-27, their window reopens. But until then, they've got serious challenge. James Harden. He signed a new 2-year deal with the Clippers worth over $81 million, locking him in through at least 2026. He declined his original player option, took the new deal, and lined it up with Kawhi Leonard's contract. At 36 years old, he's still putting up big numbers. 22 points, nearly 9 assists, and close to 6 rebounds last season. He even earned All-NBA honors again. The Clippers clearly still believe he matters, and the short-term contract gives both sides flexibility. His cap hit sits over $36 million for this season, so the team has to manage the roster carefully. With his age, it's not about volume anymore. It's about leadership, efficiency, and smart usage. These next 2 seasons probably mark the final chapter of his prime window. Whether that ends with a title or just more stats is what's left to watch. Anthony Davis. After signing a 3-year extension with the Lakers in 2023, Davis was traded to the Mavericks in February. He averaged nearly 25 points, over 11 rebounds, and more than 3 assists in the 2025 season, playing in 51 games. Now at 32, Davis enters the next season with a fresh role on a new team and a contract worth around $186 million. Dallas has to manage cap space carefully with his salary and build a roster that fits around him fast. If he stays healthy, his production could still stay elite, especially on defense and the glass. But history says availability is a question. The Mavericks don't have endless time. His prime is closing. The next 2 to 3 seasons are the key window, and it all depends on fit, health, and how smart the roster building really is. Alperen Sengun. He's only 23 and just signed a 5-year deal worth $185 million, with a player option at the end. In the 2025 season, he averaged over 19 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 5 assists across 76 games. Then he pushed that even higher, over 22 points, more than 8 rebounds, and 7 assists per game recently. That's not normal center production. He made his first All-Star game last season and showed he's more than just promising. He's producing. The Rockets see him as a cornerstone, not just a piece. His contract gives Houston flexibility while locking in a potential star through his prime. The passing, scoring, and rebounding combo already separates him. Now it's about efficiency, defense, and team success. If he checks those boxes, we're not just talking about a fun player, we're talking about a franchise-changing one. Pascal. After putting up over 20 points, nearly 7 boards, and 3 assists per game last season, Pascal capped it off by winning Eastern Conference Finals MVP. That pushed the Pacers into the finals and solidified his role as a leader in Indiana. He's 31 now, which means the franchise has to act fast. His prime years aren't unlimited. He's listed at 6 feet 8 inches and about 245 pounds, giving the team a physical, versatile forward who scores, rebounds, and defends. He's already won a title before, and now he's chasing another with a new squad. The Pacers need to surround him with smart pieces, shooters, rim protection, and consistent depth. His production is still strong, but they'll want to manage wear and maximize his minutes. His deal and role both suggest urgency. The next few years might be the window, and Indiana knows it. Chet Holmgren. The Thunder gave him a 5-year deal worth up to $250 million, locking in a core piece of their title squad. He's only 23, but he's already got a ring and set a Game 7 finals record with 5 blocks. Last season, he averaged just over 16 points, nearly 8 boards, and more than 2 blocks. He brings rim protection, floor spacing, and defensive versatility, all in a 7-footer who moves like a guard. The contract shows Oklahoma City sees him as foundational, not just complimentary. He's already shown playoff value, and his role is growing. Injury history exists. He missed his rookie year and had more missed games last season. But when he's out there, the impact is obvious. If he stays healthy and keeps developing, he's got a clear path to become one of the league's best big men over the next several years. Russell Westbrook. At 37, he's entering his 18th NBA season after signing a 1-year deal with the Kings. Last season, he averaged over 13 points, 6 assists, and nearly 5 rebounds with Denver. He declined a $3 million option before joining Sacramento, where his role shifts toward veteran leadership and bench impact. He still holds the record for most triple-doubles in league history, with 203, and sits 8th all-time in assists. He's about 500 points from becoming the highest-scoring point guard ever, passing Oscar Robertson. The Kings brought him in for experience, not star usage. His short deal gives both sides flexibility. It could be his final season. The scoring record and locker room presence are the main focuses now. His time as an MVP may be past, but legacy isn't. What he does this season adds to an already historic career. De'Aaron Fox. After getting traded to San Antonio in February, Fox signed a 4-year deal worth $229 million, locking him in through 2030. Last season ended early due to finger surgery, but the Spurs still saw enough to make him their franchise point guard. He's 27, entering prime years, and brings speed, shot creation, and big play potential. He was the first ever clutch player of the year and already an all-star. The Spurs want him to lead a young roster and push them into contention. His three-point shooting still needs work, but the scoring and playmaking have been strong. The contract means the front office has to build around his timeline. That means shooters, rim protection, and spacing to let him operate. His health, fit, and the roster's development will define whether this investment turns into wins or just more empty stats. The window's open. Trae Young. At 27, he just led the league in assists with 11.6 per game while scoring over 24 points per night. He's still under his current deal with Atlanta, but is now eligible for a 4-year extension worth up to $229 million. His salary next season is just under $46 million, so the stakes are high. He's still one of the best playmakers in the league, but questions about his shooting efficiency and team impact remain. The Hawks are sitting at a fork in the road. Extend him or reshape the roster entirely. Young's value is undeniable, but high-usage guards with max deals require near-perfect roster construction. This next phase of his career will be all about fit, growth, and results. If Atlanta builds right, they've got a star locked in. If not, the window might close faster than they plan. It's decision time. Jason Tatum. Before the injury, he was putting up over 26 points, nearly 9 boards, and 6 assists per game while leading Boston as their franchise cornerstone. At 27, he's in his prime, but a ruptured right Achilles in the playoffs changed the short-term outlook. He had surgery in May, so his availability for this season is in question. His contract and role make him the centerpiece of the Celtics' strategy, so the roster must adjust accordingly. If he recovers fully, he could return to top-tier form with strong production across the board. The Celtics will need to manage his minutes early and surround him with depth, shooters, and defensive help. He's efficient, but still has room to grow, especially from beyond the arc. How Boston supports him post-injury will shape both his legacy and the team's future. The next 3 seasons are everything. Tyrese Maxey. Through the first stretch of the 2026 season, he's one of the top scorers in the league at 33.5 points per game. He just dropped 43 against Orlando without Joel Embiid, showing exactly why the Sixers gave him a massive extension. He's also averaging close to 9 assists and shooting around 46% from the field, which is a huge jump in both volume and playmaking. At 25, Maxey's stepping fully into a franchise player role, not just as a scorer, but as a leader. With Embiid's health always a factor, the Sixers are clearly leaning into Maxey's rise. He's entering his prime with the ball in his hands, real usage, and team resources behind him. If he stays efficient and expands his playmaking, he'll be in that upper tier of guards for years. The team's future is already starting to revolve around him. And it makes sense. Morant, he's under contract with the Grizzlies, but everything around him feels unstable. After a one-game suspension for conduct detrimental to the team and public comments about not enjoying the game, red flags are piling up. He's still one of the most explosive guards in the league, but between behavioral issues, shooting inefficiency, and injuries, his trade value is taking serious hits. Memphis says they're not shopping him, but the chatter's growing. Teams are hesitant. His contract is huge, and his off-court reputation is a concern. If things spiral, a trade could happen. Turn wouldn't match his peak value. Younger players and protected picks are more likely than a superstar swap. The next few months matter. If he refocuses and leads, the noise fades. If not, this could go from smoke to fire. Right now, the league is watching, but not exactly rushing in. Zion Williamson. At 25, he's still one of the most dominant forces in the league when healthy. Last season, he averaged nearly 25 points, 7 rebounds, and over 5 assists, but only played 30 games before a back injury shut him down. Now in 2026, he's already missed time again with a hamstring strain. His salary this year, just under $40 million, rising to nearly $45 million by 2028. The Pelicans are still committed. He's their franchise centerpiece, and they've built around him accordingly. He showed up leaner this season, reportedly more focused, and opened strong with a 29-point performance before the setback. But availability remains the story. His upside is undeniable. Elite scoring, elite athleticism, all-around impact, but he needs to stay on the floor. If he does, the Pelicans can make serious noise. If not, that contract becomes harder to navigate. The next 1 to 2 seasons are critical. Zion's future and the Pelicans depends on health, consistency, and leadership. The talent is there. The question is durability. LaMelo Ball. He's 24 years old and entering what should be his prime, but his trajectory remains uncertain. Last season, he averaged 25 points and 7 assists per game, showing elite playmaking and scoring potential. However, he was limited to 47 games due to ankle and wrist surgeries. Under a 5-year contract worth up to $260 million, he is the Charlotte Hornets' franchise cornerstone. Yet league insiders question whether he is truly the face of a winning team. To reach the next level, Ball must improve his efficiency, stay healthy, and translate talent into consistent winning. His defense, decision-making, and durability all remain question marks. If the Hornets build wisely and Ball evolves, he could become one of the league's top guards. But the next few seasons will determine whether his legacy is built on winning or just dazzling highlight reels. Joel Embiid. He's already 2 weeks into the 2026 season, and the early numbers aren't exactly screaming dominance. He's averaging around 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists, which is way below what they're used to seeing. But the real story isn't the stats, it's the knees. After missing most of last season and getting shut down in February, those left knee issues are still hanging over everything. The Sixers gave him that huge 3-year extension worth about $193 million, locking him in through at least 2028. He's 31 now, and that deal ties their entire future to his health. When he plays, the talent's still there, but missing time hurts his rhythm, his numbers, and the team's ability to compete. They're building around a guy whose body has made that a risky bet. If he can stay on the floor, they've still got a shot to make a run. But if this slow start turns into another season of limited availability, the Sixers are in trouble. Lauri, through 2 weeks of the 2026 season, he's lighting it up with over 30 points a game while shooting nearly 47% from the field. That scoring jump's pushed him into true go-to status for Utah. He's 7 feet 1 inch, 28 years old, and clearly in his prime. But now, the pressure's on the Jazz. He's eligible for a trade, and teams are already circling. The Jazz got fined for sitting him last March, which stirred up talk about how committed they really are. He's producing, but the 6.5 rebounds a game are still a little light for his size. If Utah wants to build around him, they'll need to boost their defense and rebounding across the roster. Otherwise, his high trade value might be too tempting to ignore. Either way, something's coming. He's too productive to float in limbo. Karl Anthony Towns. He's still anchoring the Knicks with that monster contract worth over $220 million. He's 29, right in his prime, and coming off a season where he put up over 24 points and nearly 13 boards per game. He shot over 52% from the field and a wild 42% from deep. That earned him all NBA third-team honors. But now, with his salary climbing every year, expectations are sky high. New York brought him in to be a foundational piece, and the pressure's on to deliver wins, not just numbers. He's got the offensive game, no doubt, But if he sharpens his defense and stays healthy, the Knicks could actually contend. If not, the noise will grow. The team's committed long-term, so Towns' legacy depends on what happens next. Nothing's guaranteed anymore. It's time to produce. Scotty Barnes. He's now in year 1 of that 5-year extension worth around $225 million. And Toronto's made it clear he's the guy. Through 2 weeks of the 2026 season, he's averaging just over 20 points, nearly 7 rebounds, and about 4.5 assists. The efficiency's ticked up too, sitting around 52% from the field. That's progress, but it needs to keep rising, especially from deep. Last season, he put up just under 20 points a game with decent all-around stats. But the leap to true star still depends on consistency. The Raptors are rebuilding around him, and with his age and contract, the window is now. His two-way potential is real, but the team has to nail their roster moves. They can't afford to miss. If Barnes keeps climbing and Toronto gets it right, this could finally be a real foundation. Kyrie, he's 33, signed to a 3-year, $119 million deal with Dallas, and still working his way back from the torn ACL he suffered last March. He hasn't played yet this season and is targeting a return sometime in January or February. That injury ended a solid 2025 campaign where he averaged nearly 25 points over 50 games. The Mavericks doubled down on him anyway, viewing him as a core piece alongside Anthony Davis, who they brought in last season. With both players under contract through at least 2028, Dallas is locked into this timeline. The question now is how Kyrie will look post-surgery. The scoring, handles, and playmaking were all there before the injury, but coming back from a torn ACL at 33 is no small task. His performance, health, and fit next to Davis and Flagg will shape Dallas's entire future. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.